Do you love novels, but don't have time to read thousands of chapters? Imagine listening to your favorite stories anytime, anywhere, while driving, working, or relaxing. Here, you'll find premium audiobooks from Pocket FM, Audible, Webnovel, Wuxia, and more, all in one place. Every novel is a one-time payment, no subscriptions, no monthly fees, lifetime access. The full novel list and prices are in the description below. Once you choose a novel, just DM me on Telegram, WhatsApp, or Discord. After payment via PayPal, Ko-fi, or Patreon, you get permanent access to the audiobook on Telegram. And if the novel is ongoing, all future updates are included. Check the description, pick your story, and start listening today. Before we start the video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Enjoy, and let's go.
101, Chapter 101. On the other side, Tanjiro quickly arrived in front of Yahaba, who had been kicked by Ryaji and crashed into the wall. At this time, Yahaba was embedded in the wall by the immense force. The wall around Yahaba had severe cracks and damage from the impact. Tanjiro had just stopped in front of Yahaba. Yahaba's body went limp and he collapsed on the ground, vomiting a large amount of blood. Fortunately, Ryaji's kick was just a simple physical attack. After vomiting blood, Yahaba, with the help of his powerful recovery ability, effectively recovered from his external and internal injuries. Perhaps because Ryaji's absolute strength gave Tanjiro confidence, he no longer felt the same pressure when facing Yahaba. Water breathing, first form, water surface slash. While Yahaba was vomiting blood, Tanjiro charged towards him, wanting to take him away while he was recovering. But when Tanjiro drew his sword, Yahaba had already looked up at Tanjiro. He said angrily, "Don't underestimate me. I'm not that easy to bully. The thread of emptiness is broken." Tanjiro's heart trembled. When Tanjiro slashed his sword down, the thread of emptiness that had locked onto Yahaba broke. The break in the emptiness meant that Tanjiro's fatal blow had completely vanished. Then, Tanjiro stumbled and fell to the ground. It turned out that under Yahaba's mental power control, Tanjiro's foot slipped and he fell to the ground. Tanjiro, who had fallen to the ground, quickly used Yashiro's vision sharing and saw the arrows under his feet. Seeing the arrows under his feet, Tanjiro understood why his fatal blow, which should have been able to take Yahaba away, had failed. "Under my control, you'll die like a puppet, according to my will." Yahaba immediately increased his mental power control and directly controlled the Nichiren sword in Tanjiro's hand. Tanjiro felt like the Nichiren sword in his hand was no longer under his control. It suddenly slashed towards his neck. Fortunately, Tanjiro's reaction was quick. He grabbed the Nichiren sword tightly and grabbed the blade with his other hand. Because mental power didn't have much explosive power, the Nichiren sword didn't cut off Tanjiro's palm. It just cut a gash on his palm. Tanjiro's blood instantly dripped onto the ground along the blade. Tanjiro gritted his teeth and tightly gripped the Nichiren sword. As the muscles in his arm contracted violently, he instantly burst out with immense strength. He instantly stabbed the Nichiren sword firmly into the ground. The Nichiren sword, stuck in the ground, trembled violently under Yahaba's control and Tanjiro's resistance. Tanjiro didn't dare to let go. He knew that as soon as he let go, the Nichiren sword would no longer be under his control. The situation would become even more troublesome. Seeing that he couldn't send Tanjiro on his way this way, Yahaba gave up controlling the Nichiren sword. He concentrated all his mental power on Tanjiro and sent him flying into the air. Then, Yahaba controlled Tanjiro and threw him towards a cherry blossom tree. Tanjiro swung his sword and chopped the cherry blossom tree into pieces. He avoided the collision with the tree. Seeing that the collision with the tree failed, Yahaba immediately sent Tanjiro straight up into the air. The height kept climbing. In an instant, Tanjiro was nearly 80 meters above the ground. 102, Chapter 102. So high. Just as Tanjiro was feeling this, Yahaba pressed his hands down. Under the pressure of the mental power arrows, Tanjiro slammed towards the ground like a cannonball. "Die, die, die, die. Now see how you escape." Yahaba kept muttering to himself. He was already anticipating Tanjiro's death. Indeed, slamming Tanjiro from a high place onto the ground would be fatal for Tanjiro, a human. Moreover, the ground, unlike trees and buildings, couldn't be destroyed to reduce the impact. No matter how strong Tanjiro was, he couldn't destroy the ground. Tanjiro, who was about to slam into the ground, naturally noticed this problem. If he collided with the ground at such a high gravitational acceleration, the result would be death. He had to find a way to relieve the immense force. Got it. Tanjiro's eyes lit up. He immediately concentrated and adjusted his breathing. Total concentration, water breathing, 8th form, waterfall basin. Tanjiro gripped his Nichiren sword with both hands and slashed heavily towards the ground from top to bottom. As his breathing generated a huge amount of water rhythm, the blade of Tanjiro's Nichiren sword, slashing towards the ground, produced a large amount of water flow. The water flow violently collided with the ground, creating a dent in the ground and splashing up even more spectacular water. It also cushioned Tanjiro's immense downward impact force. Tanjiro's feet instantly touched the ground. Although Waterfall Basin cushioned most of the impact, the remaining force still caused a brief numbness in Tanjiro's feet. However, Tanjiro knew that this wasn't a time to slack off. Ignoring the numbness in his feet, Tanjiro, in his next breath, twisted his waist. At the same time, he swung his Nichiren sword nearly 360 degrees in the direction of the twist. Total concentration, water breathing, 7th form, twisting vortex. This was the key move Tanjiro used against the water demon. It was in the water at the time, so the destructive power of this move was significantly enhanced. Now, he was on the ground. The power of the 7th form, twisting vortex, couldn't reach that level. But Tanjiro wasn't using this move to counterattack. He was just using the rotational force of twisting vortex to offset the mental power arrows that Yahaba had placed on him. As Tanjiro's body twisted and his blade swung, a water vortex instantly appeared around him. The water vortex sucked the mental power arrows off Tanjiro and completely disintegrated them. 2 consecutive moves instantly made Tanjiro's blood boil. It could be said that Tanjiro had completely entered his strongest state. Seeing his mental power disintegrated, Yahaba immediately wanted to regain control. However, Tanjiro wasn't going to give Yahaba that chance. Tanjiro took a deep breath. Water breathing, 3rd form, flowing dance. Using the nimble movements of the 3rd form and Yashiro's vision sharing, Tanjiro cleverly dodged the mental power arrows. But those mental power arrows were still haunting Tanjiro. The moment Tanjiro approached Yahaba, the thread of emptiness, which determined victory or defeat, quietly appeared in Tanjiro's sensory world. Tanjiro immediately seized this opportunity. As he swung his sword to deliver the final fatal blow to Yahaba, the mental power arrows were already tightly wrapped around the blade of the Nichiren sword. Tanjiro's hand, which was swinging the sword, felt incredibly heavy. 103, Chapter 103. To avoid repeating the previous fall, Tanjiro instantly leaped into the air. Then, he pulled the Nichiren sword, which was entangled with mental power arrows, with both hands. Under the incredibly heavy pull, the muscles in Tanjiro's arms contracted violently. Water breathing, 2nd form, modified, horizontal water wheel. Water breathing, 2nd form, modified, horizontal water wheel. Tanjiro's 2nd form, modified, was simply a change in the direction of the move's release. The original water wheel was a vertical attack method. Now, because of Tanjiro's position, the water wheel's attack mode had become horizontal. So, Tanjiro's modified move was just a simple change in the direction of the attack. The move itself hadn't changed fundamentally. Ryaji's 1st form, modified, water surface slash chain slash, although it was also a change in the attack method, the essence of the move had actually changed. Because Ryaji's water surface slash chain slash wasn't just a simple change in direction. It was completely different from the original 1st form from the breathing itself. So, Ryaji's modified move was actually a truly modified move. Tanjiro's figure in the air rotated like a dart, quickly flying towards Yahaba. The next moment, Yahaba's neck was swept by Tanjiro's Nichiren sword. Yahaba, who was controlling mental power, had no time to dodge Tanjiro's attack. He could only watch helplessly as his neck was cut off by Tanjiro's Nichiren sword. Tanjiro's entire body also fell to the ground. Because he had used all his strength to resist Yahaba's mental power pull, he hadn't even thought about how to stand firmly after this fatal blow. Because he hadn't considered this problem, Tanjiro fell to the ground under the influence of gravity. I did it. Tanjiro didn't even care about his fall, seeing Yahaba's head cut off by the Nichiren sword. You bastard. I'm taking you to hell with me. Yahaba knew that he could no longer recover. So, he had the vicious idea of taking Tanjiro with him before he died. Yahaba used his last life as a price. He condensed extremely powerful mental power on Tanjiro, wanting to destroy Tanjiro's body with his final blow, which had gathered all his life force. Tanjiro, who had fallen to the ground, floated up under the drive of the resentment. Then, Tanjiro's head and limbs felt a huge pulling force. This force was enough to tear Tanjiro apart. Tanjiro was instantly panicked. Just as he was panicking, Ryaji suddenly appeared in front of Yahaba's head. He coldly said to him, "You're not going to get your hands on him." After speaking, Ryaji activated demonification and completely devoured Yahaba into the demonification purgatory. Yahaba screamed in the black mist. The scream echoed throughout Tamayo's mansion. Susumaru, who was hanging from the tree, naturally heard Yahaba's scream. She couldn't help but be afraid. What kind of terrifying method could make a demon scream like that? As Yahaba's scream disappeared, Tanjiro was no longer affected by the mental power and fell back to the ground. Ryaji gradually retreated from demonification. At this time, the system's broadcast prompt sounded. Demon Devourer successfully copied the target's blood demon art. Host has obtained the Mental Power Control skill. Mental Power Control will improve as the Demon Devourer levels up. The higher the Demon Devourer's level, the stronger the Mental Power Control will be. 104, Chapter 104. After hearing the ultradimensional transmigration system's broadcast, Ryaji knew that he had obtained Yahaba's ability to control mental power. Combined with the stealth he had obtained from the water demon, Tamayo now had two supernatural skills. As Yahaba's head was devoured by demonification, Yahaba's body began to dissipate. Ryaji clapped his hands and then straightened his clothes. He walked to Tanjiro, who was lying on the ground, and said to him, "Tanjiro, you really didn't disappoint me. You did great just now. You're already very strong. You can even kill a member of the 12 Kizuki." After speaking, Ryaji extended his hand to Tanjiro. Tanjiro looked at Ryaji blankly. After being stunned for a moment, he nodded heavily to Ryaji in response to his approval. Tanjiro's nod this time was not only an acknowledgement of Ryaji's approval of him but also an acknowledgement of himself. That's right, Tanjiro had cut off Yahaba's head with his own ability. He wasn't that weak. All this illusion was because Ryaji was truly too strong, too strong. After nodding, Tanjiro reached out and grabbed Ryaji's hand. Then, with Ryaji's pull, Tanjiro easily stood up. As soon as Tanjiro stood up, Nezuko ran over and hugged him. Tanjiro looked at Nezuko hugging him. His heart instantly warmed. He reached out and touched Nezuko's head. After everything settled down, Ryaji, Tanjiro, and Nezuko returned to Tamayo's side. Tanjiro looked at the mansion, which had been destroyed beyond repair by Susumaru and Yahaba, the two demons. He couldn't help but feel a little ashamed. The reason why Tanjiro felt ashamed was mainly because Susumaru and Yahaba had come for him. Perhaps Tamayo was also on their target list. Tomeo didn't feel as ashamed as Tanjiro. After all, it wasn't his fault. Tamayo wouldn't feel ashamed for the consequences of other people's actions. After all, Susumaru, the main culprit who had turned the place into this mess, had already been punished by Ryaji. Yahaba had also been beheaded by Tanjiro. Tamayo-san, I'm really sorry for making such a mess of the place. Tanjiro sincerely apologized to Tamayo. Tanjiro, you don't have to blame yourself too much. After all, it wasn't your fault. It's okay. I'll have Yashiro fix it up. Tamayo didn't have any intention of getting angry. Tamayo-san is right. She's the one who destroyed the mansion. It's not your fault. Tamayo agreed. As he spoke, Ryaji pointed at Susumaru, who was hanging from the cherry blossom tree, and said to Tomeo, "She's the one who destroyed the mansion. So, I'll leave her to you. What are you going to do with her?" Hearing this, Tomeo also looked at Susumaru and began to think. Susumaru's face was ashen. There were still tears in the corners of her eyes. Tanjiro also looked at Susumaru. Seeing Susumaru tortured into such a state, Tanjiro couldn't believe that she was a demon who killed without blinking an eye and ate people without spitting out the bones. Tamayo sighed and shook her head. She said, "To avoid being targeted by Muzan, you should kill her. But before that, I'll still take some blood from her as a research sample." Just as Ryaji was about to take action, Tamayo said again. 105, Chapter 105. Tamayo then took a small box from her pocket. Inside the box was a syringe for collecting blood. Tamayo took the syringe, walked up to Susumaru, and inserted the syringe into her arm, drawing her blood. After approaching Susumaru, Tamayo looked at her eyes and sighed. She's not a member of the 12 Kazuki. The other one who died probably wasn't either. The Lord said I was a member of the 12 Kazuki, Susumaru weakly countered. Tanjiro was surprised to hear Tamayo's words. Such a powerful demon wasn't a member of the 12 Kazuki. How strong would the real 12 Kazuki be? The 12 Kazuki have numbers engraved on their eyeballs. You don't have that, so you're not a member of the 12 Kazuki. Muzan deceived you. Tamayo explained to Susumaru. No, the Lord wouldn't lie. Susumaru refused to accept Tamayo's explanation. Tamayo didn't necessarily want Susumaru to believe her. So, she said to Ryaji, Ryaji, you can do it now. No, I don't want to die. Please, don't kill me, please. Hearing this, Susumaru instantly burst into tears and begged Ryaji. When you were killing and eating people, why didn't you think about those people? Did they want to die? Ryaji didn't intend to let Susumaru go. He coldly said to her. Although Ryaji was reluctant to torture Susumaru anymore, it didn't mean he wouldn't kill her. Because torturing a demon and killing a demon were two different things. When Ryaji killed a demon, he would be clean and quick, not causing the demon much torment. The final result would be that they would turn into dust and completely disappear. Just as Ryaji was drawing his two-colored Nichiren sword, Tanjiro, who had been infected by Susumaru, grabbed Ryaji's hand and said to him, Ryaji, can you give her a way out? Hearing this, Ryaji wasn't startled by Tanjiro's words. Because these words were in line with Tanjiro's kind nature. After all, Seikanji Urokadaki had told Ryaji that Tanjiro was a child who easily sympathized with demons. He had instructed Ryaji to make the most correct decision when necessary and not be as reckless as Tanjiro. This guy is responsible for the lives of many people. Are you sure you want to give her a way out and let her continue to harm the world? Ryaji asked Tanjiro very seriously. If it was a demon who hadn't eaten people, Ryaji could consider listening to Tanjiro once and giving Susumaru a way out. Then, he would hand her over to Tamayo. At this time, Tanjiro looked at Tamayo and said, Ryaji, if you give her a way out, you'll have an endless supply of blood for Tamayo-san to research. She can also become Tamayo-san's research subject. This would be very helpful for Tamayo-san's research. Am I right? Hearing this, Ryaji realized that Tanjiro was thinking this way. But Susumaru was so powerful. Could Tamayo control her? After all, he couldn't stay by Tamayo's side and watch Susumaru forever. So, although Tanjiro's idea was good, Ryaji was most worried about Susumaru turning against them after she recovered. After all, he couldn't leave a ticking time bomb by Tamayo's side. However, just as Tanjiro was expecting Tamayo to nod in agreement, she shook her head. 106, Chapter 106. No. Although she's not a member of the 12 Kazuki, the concentration of Muzan's blood in her body is not low. So, she must have been in contact with Muzan many times and done many things for him. That's why she received a reward of Muzan's blood and became so strong. If you leave her here, Muzan Kibutsuji will find her through the blood's connection. That's why, Tamayo said to Tanjiro. Please. I really don't want to die. I absolutely won't collude with Muzan Kibutsuji anymore. I absolutely won't kill and eat people anymore. Please spare me. Lady Tamayo, I'll do anything you ask. I'll absolutely be good. Susumaru was mentally collapsing to survive. It could be said that she had never been so afraid of death. Susumaru had thought that becoming a demon would mean she no longer feared death. But when death was right in front of her, teasing her, she was still afraid. You've actually spoken the curse's taboo. Tamayo was slightly surprised to hear Susumaru's words. Ryaji and Tanjiro didn't understand. So, Tanjiro asked, Tamayo-san, what taboo are you talking about? With Tamayo's reminder, Susumaru finally realized that she had actually spoken Muzan Kibutsuji's name. Muzan Kibutsuji's name and everything about him are the taboo of demons. As long as you speak it, you will be cursed and suffer backlash. The cells in Muzan Kibutsuji's blood will completely destroy the body of the demon who is cursed, Tamayo explained to Tanjiro and Ryaji. Hearing this, Ryaji and Tanjiro couldn't help but think of the water demon's terrified appearance. It turned out that he was afraid of Muzan Kibutsuji's curse. So, besides the sunlight and the demon slayer's Nichiren swords that you know, Muzan Kibutsuji's cells can also kill demons. Tamayo continued. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. forgive me. Lord Muzan Kibutsuji. On the other side, Susumaru completely broke down. She didn't expect she would die from speaking out of turn and suffering a backlash from the curse. It was a huge irony. However, no one paid attention to Susumaru's life or death. Even Tanjiro was focusing his attention on Nezuko. Because knowing about the curse, Tanjiro couldn't help but worry that Nezuko would also be affected by the curse. Fortunately, Nezuko was wearing a muzzle and didn't talk much. This reassured Tanjiro. It was just that Tanjiro didn't expect that demons could actually be killed by things other than sunlight and Nichiren swords. Moreover, the thing that killed them came from their king. As Tamayo said this, she looked at Ryaji and then showed the blood mark on her white arm that couldn't heal in the short term. She continued, perhaps the special power on Ryaji's body can also kill demons. Ryaji knew that Tamayo was talking about his demonification power. So, he wasn't too surprised. After all, he knew he had this ability. Tanjiro was somewhat envious of Ryaji's ability. After all, having this ability would make him a demon slayer. At this time, Ryaji's gaze fell on Susumaru, who was slightly insane. Ryaji didn't intend to take action. After all, Susumaru had triggered Muzan Kibutsuji's curse. She was going to die anyway. Ryaji was also curious about what the scene of the curse taking effect would be like. 107, Chapter 107. Time passed by second. About a minute had gone by, but there was still no sign of Muzan Kibutsuji's curse taking effect. Susumaru was still rambling about Muzan Kibutsuji. Ryaji couldn't help but look at Tamayo again and asked, Tamayo-san, does the curse take a long time to take effect? Tamayo was also a little confused. She had never encountered such an unusual situation. So, she shook her head and said, normally, her body should have been completely destroyed by Muzan Kibutsuji cells by now. Perhaps because of the special power remaining in her body from you, this power not only inhibits her wound healing, but it may also inhibit the effect of Muzan Kibutsuji's blood. Because we don't know how long this power can stay in her body, the curse might take effect when the power disappears. Then, her fate will still be death. Tamayo explained her analysis. This was also a deduction she had made after experiencing the power firsthand when she was struck by Ryaji's whip. However, Tamayo's level of injury was different from Susumaru's. If each whip had that power entering her body, Susumaru, who had been hit at least 50 times, would have accumulated much more of that power in her body than Tamayo. Tamayo was also very curious about whether the lingering power would cause the demon's body to mutate and completely break free from Muzan Kibutsuji's control. The insane Susumaru also heard Tamayo's words. Her completely hopeless heart rose with hope again. Although Tamayo said that the curse might just be suppressed by Ryaji's demonification power and not completely gone, as long as there was a chance to live, she could break free from Muzan Kibutsuji's curse and control, just like Tamayo. This was Susumaru's plan now. She had decided to take this opportunity to completely break free from Muzan Kibutsuji's control. If that's the case, then let me personally send her on her way. Seeing that Susumaru didn't die from the curse, Ryaji was ready to personally send her on her way. No, please, give me a chance. As long as you don't kill me, I'm willing to become your slave. Please give me a chance to live. Susumaru begged Ryaji when she saw he was going to kill her. Ryaji didn't accept Susumaru's plea. He immediately drew his two-colored Nichiren sword. As soon as the sound of the sword being drawn echoed, Tamayo stopped Ryaji from taking any further action. She said to Ryaji, Ryaji, her current condition might be helpful for my research. Can you give her to me? Feeling Tamayo's smooth palm pressing against his, Ryaji couldn't help but sigh inwardly at the feel of her hand. This hand felt really amazing. Yushiro, seeing Tamayo's hand resting on Ryaji's, was already filled with jealousy. But facing Ryaji, Yushiro didn't dare to be presumptuous in front of him. So, he could only be secretly jealous. Aren't you afraid that she will recover and go back on her word? If she secretly sends a message to Muzan Kibutsuji, it will be a disaster for you. Ryaji still reminded Tamayo, not feeling reassured. Ryaji naturally didn't have much trust in Susumaru. The reason why Ryaji was so concerned about Tamayo was because of the mission the ultradimensional transmigration system had given him. 108, Chapter 108. The ultradimensional transmigration system had given Ryaji a mission to help Tamayo in order to win her heart. It was essentially telling Ryaji that Tamayo was on his side and would become part of his harem. So, of course, Ryaji had to care about someone who might become his woman in the future. Hearing Ryaji's doubts, Susumaru, to gain a chance to live and earn Ryaji's trust, vehemently denied it. No. I'll absolutely never have anything to do with Muzan Kibutsuji again. Please believe me. From now on, I'll absolutely obey Lady Tamayo's words. Please. Tamayo didn't say anything more because the final decision was in Ryaji's hands. Tamayo naturally understood what Ryaji had said. Even though Susumaru was now pitiful and helpless, she was still a demon who worked for Muzan Kibutsuji. At this time, Tanjiro sniffed Susumaru's aura carefully. Sensing that her aura was incredibly sincere and contained no lies, he pleaded for her. Ryaji, her aura has become much clearer. She shouldn't be lying. Leave her to Tamayo-san. Maybe she's just a poor person who was used by Muzan Kibutsuji. At this time, Ryaji looked at Tamayo and asked, Tamayo-san, are you sure you can make this guy change her ways like you did? Ryaji knew that Tamayo had definitely served Muzan Kibutsuji before. Susumaru's situation was probably similar to hers. The only difference between Tamayo and Susumaru was that Tamayo had actively left Muzan Kibutsuji and, through her own methods, gradually diluted Muzan Kibutsuji's blood over a long period of time, successfully breaking free from his control. Susumaru's current submission was partly passive. So, Ryaji couldn't be sure if she truly wanted to change her ways. Although I'm not sure, I'll take the most appropriate action if she shows any abnormalities. Tamayo naturally didn't dare to guarantee anything for Susumaru. The most fundamental reason why she dared to spare Susumaru's life was to study whether her body would mutate under the influence of Ryaji's demonification power. This might lead to groundbreaking discoveries in the research on turning demons into humans. Most importantly, Susumaru was already free from Muzan Kibutsuji's control under the influence of demonification power. So, Tamayo wasn't afraid of Muzan Kibutsuji finding her through Susumaru. So, even if Susumaru turned against them after she recovered, Tamayo could handle it. Ryaji understood what Tamayo meant. Seeing that she had already made up her mind, he agreed to Tamayo and Tanjiro's request and chose to give Susumaru a way out. I hope you remember what you said to me today. Otherwise, next time we meet, it will be your death. Don't think you can hide from me forever. I can also find you through the power remaining in your body. Ryaji warned Susumaru in the end. Hearing this, Susumaru nodded repeatedly and reassured Ryaji, My lord, you can rest assured. I will never have any second thoughts. I promise to be absolutely loyal to you. I hope you're not just saying that. Ryaji naturally scoffed at Susumaru's pledge of loyalty and didn't take it to heart. After all, anyone can say nice things. Whether or not they can do it depends on the person. 109, Chapter 109. Ryaji finished speaking and swiftly drew his sword, severing the rope that bound Susumaru. Susumaru fell heavily to the ground. Ryaji didn't offer to help her up, instead turning to Tamayo. I'll leave her to you. Tamayo nodded and turned to Yushiro. Yushiro, take her to another usable room for now. I'll treat her wounds later. Yushiro was reluctant. The idea of having this extra person in their lives displeased him greatly. I'm not touching that ugly thing. Yushiro arrogantly refused. It was perfectly normal for Yushiro, who even Nezuko called ugly, to dislike Susumaru. While Susumaru wasn't deformed like the hand demon, or had horns like the water demon, her appearance was undeniably less striking than Nezuko's or Tamayo's. Of course, Susumaru wasn't unattractive, just rather ordinary and unremarkable. Susumaru didn't have the energy to argue with Yushiro at the moment. Under normal circumstances, she would have already fought back. Tanjiro, understanding Yushiro's arrogant nature, took the initiative to help Susumaru up. Are you all right? Tanjiro asked with concern. Tanjiro's compassion for Susumaru stemmed from Ryaji's merciless whipping, which had revealed her pitiful and vulnerable side. Seeing Susumaru's battered state, Tanjiro couldn't bring himself to see her as just a demon. Susumaru was momentarily stunned by Tanjiro's concern. Since becoming a demon, she hadn't experienced any care. Tanjiro's concern felt unreal, almost false. But seeing Tanjiro's genuinely caring expression, Susumaru inexplicably felt a warmth in her heart. She subconsciously shook her head at Tanjiro. Yushiro, if you continue to act so arrogant, I'll punish you. quickly show Tanjiro the way. I need to treat her wounds later. Tamayo said, slightly annoyed. Yushiro immediately dropped his arrogance and assured Tamayo-san, I promise it won't happen again. Yushiro then led Tanjiro to an undamaged room. Tanjiro laid Susumaru down on the bed. Because of the injuries on her back, bottom, and even thighs, she could only lie on her stomach, unable to make any large movements. Tamayo, putting on a white coat, mask, and gloves, entered the room. Ryaji didn't follow Tamayo inside. Only Nezuko went in with her. Seeing this, Tanjiro asked Tamayo-san, where is Ryaji? Ryaji is outside the mansion, Tamayo replied. Tamayo then asked Yushiro to prepare the necessary medical supplies and ointments for treating external wounds. Yushiro quickly prepared everything for Tamayo. Tamayo then sat beside Susumaru's bed and began to treat her wounds. Tamayo first cleaned the blood from Susumaru's wounds. After cleaning the blood, she noticed that the wounds on Susumaru's back had formed a pattern resembling a humanoid monster. 110, Chapter 110. Seeing this, Tamayo stopped. She murmured to herself, could these scars have been intentionally inflicted by Ryaji? What is this humanoid monster pattern? Just as Tamayo was about to ask Ryaji, she realized he wasn't in the room. She said to Tanjiro, please go get Ryaji. Tanjiro, with a questioning look, went outside the mansion. Ryaji was standing under a cherry blossom tree, looking up at the cherry blossoms and the moon above. Tanjiro approached him and said, Ryaji, Tamayo-san wants you to come over. Ryaji looked at Tanjiro in surprise. As he reached out his hand, a falling cherry blossom petal landed perfectly in his palm. Tamayo needed him again? What could it be? With a puzzled expression, Ryaji followed Tanjiro to the room where they were treating Susumaru's wounds. Ryaji, come and look at her back. Tamayo gestured for Ryaji to examine Susumaru's back. Ryaji was even more puzzled. What was there to see on Susumaru's back? Even if her skin was beautiful, he had beaten it to a pulp. What was there to look at? However, Ryaji didn't ask further questions. He walked in front of Susumaru and looked at her back. Did you intentionally create this scar pattern? What do you think it looks like? Tamayo asked directly, without any hesitation. After cleaning the blood that had welled up from the wounds, Ryaji also noticed that Susumaru's scars formed a humanoid monster pattern. The scar looked familiar to Ryaji. After careful examination, he realized it was the rudimentary form of a demon god. But how did this scar form into the rudimentary form of a demon god? His whipping technique wasn't that good, was it? Could he just randomly whip someone a few times and create this kind of pattern? Seeing Ryaji lost in thought, Tamayo asked, you don't know either? Not exactly. I just don't know why it appeared on her, Ryaji replied, then briefly explained to Tamayo, this humanoid monster scar is actually a demon god, the master of the power inhabiting my body. A demon god? What's that? Tamayo was even more puzzled. It's a higher level life form with immense power. You can think of it as the nemesis of demons. I have a symbiotic relationship with the demon god. To use its power, I must nourish the demon god within my body with the blood of demons. Only by constantly nourishing it with demon blood will the demon god's power become stronger. Ryaji explained. Tanjiro listened attentively because this was the first time Ryaji had explained his situation in such detail. At this moment, Tanjiro learned that a powerful being called a demon god had been living within Ryaji's body. I see. Tamayo, hearing about the demon god for the first time, also exclaimed, truly, one thing conquers another. Perhaps the scar on her back was left by the demon god. Ryaji now had a theory. What kind of effect will this mark have on her in the future? Tamayo couldn't help but ask again. 111, Chapter 111. Ryaji shook his head. He didn't know. The ultradimensional transmigration system remained silent. The system didn't offer an answer. Seeing that Ryaji didn't know either, Tamayo didn't press further. However, Tamayo intended to record the information about the demon god, along with a sketch of the scar on Susumaru's back, in her notebook. Hearing that the scar on her back was a mark of a demon god, Susumaru felt extremely uneasy. She had just been happy about escaping Muzan Kibutsuji's control, only to find herself falling into a pit dug by Ryaji. I will follow up and record her subsequent condition in detail, Tamayo told Ryaji. Ryaji wasn't particularly concerned and simply nodded indifferently. Then, Tamayo began to apply some simple external wound medication to Susumaru. Susumaru remained silent as a demon. The slight pain of the medication didn't affect her. The only pain she felt was the one caused by the demon god power invading her body. However, she could endure this pain. Tamayo also knew that these external wound medications wouldn't significantly help Susumaru's recovery. After all, even the demon's regenerative ability couldn't repair the wound, let alone ordinary external wound medications. However, the necessary treatment should still be done at the very least. It would help the blood clot and scab over. At this time, Ryaji asked Susumaru, "So, what's your name?" "My lord, my name is Susumaru," Susumaru replied respectfully. "Susumaru, I ask you, in Asakusa, Tokyo, besides you and that demon who uses mental power, are there any other demons here?" Ryaji asked after learning her name. The reason he asked Susumaru this was related to the mission. This time, Ryaji and Tanjiro came to Asakusa, Tokyo, to eliminate the demons here. But Ryaji also knew that there were many demons hidden in the vast Asakusa, Tokyo. So, this was the best opportunity to ask Susumaru. After all, Susumaru was directly dispatched by Muzan Kibutsuji, so this was undoubtedly her territory. Hearing this, Susumaru's heart tightened. She answered fearfully, "My lord, no. There are only Yahiba and I in Asakusa, Tokyo." "Really? Asakusa, Tokyo is so big, and Muzan Kibutsuji only arranged 2 demons here." Ryaji was incredulous. "It's absolutely true, my lord. Muzan Kibutsuji doesn't want to attract the attention of the government, so he hasn't placed too many demons in Asakusa, Tokyo. After all, if there are too many demons, more people will be eaten, and it's easy for the government to notice." Susumaru explained nervously, fearing that Ryaji wouldn't believe her and would kill her. Seeing the cold sweat on Susumaru's fearful and vigilant face, Ryaji couldn't help but laugh. Was he even more terrifying than Muzan Kibutsuji? "Don't be nervous. As long as you obey and don't deceive me, I won't casually kill," Ryaji reassured the extremely nervous Susumaru. "I'll be very obedient. I absolutely won't deceive you," Susumaru emphasized. Ryaji nodded and didn't continue questioning. 112, Chapter 112. Susumaru is right. Muzan Kibutsuji is actually a coward. To avoid attracting the attention of the government, he hasn't turned many people into demons. Only the 12 Kazuki are truly useful to him. As for the other demons, they're just used to contain the Demon Slayer Corps. Tamayo said to Ryaji. "No wonder the people outside don't know about the existence of demons. It's because Muzan Kibutsuji is too cowardly," Tanjiro exclaimed. Tanjiro was also relieved that Muzan Kibutsuji was a coward. Otherwise, the world would have become a living hell. "A coward, huh?" Ryaji sneered inwardly, mocking Muzan Kibutsuji. "Since that's the case, Tanjiro, our one-day trip to Asakusa, Tokyo is over. Let's leave at dawn," Ryaji said to Tanjiro. "So soon? Aren't we staying a little longer?" Ryaji. Tanjiro was surprised. He thought they would stay in Asakusa, Tokyo for a while. After all, the place was so big, finding demons wouldn't be easy. Unexpectedly, on the very first night, 2 demons came to them. One was killed by him, and the other was subdued by Ryaji. The mission ended so easily. Seeing Tanjiro's reluctance to leave, Ryaji teased, "Not leaving? Are you planning to stay and spend the rest of your life with Tamayo-san? Aren't you afraid Yushiro will strangle you?" As Ryaji spoke, Yushiro glared at Tanjiro with hostile and warning eyes. Tanjiro jolted, straightened his back, and said, "Impossible." At this moment, Tamayo picked up on Tanjiro's words, teasing him, "What? Are you disgusted by this 200-year-old hag?" Tanjiro frantically waved his hands at Tamayo, explaining nervously, "Tamayo-san is so young and beautiful, how could she be an old hag? I'd love to see you every day. How could I possibly be disgusted?" Hearing Tanjiro's praise of Tamayo, Yushiro's eyes instantly flashed with killing intent. His jealousy completely overflowed. Tanjiro saw Yushiro's murderous gaze from the corner of his eye. He gulped, then changed his tone. "It's just that, as Ryaji said, we really should go. After all, we're demon slayers. People in other places need us to rescue them. I just wanted to play in Asakusa, Tokyo for a few more days. Our allowance isn't much. Asakusa, Tokyo is too expensive. We can't afford it, so let's leave early. Ryaji poured cold water on Tanjiro, extinguishing his desire to stay longer. Tanjiro's face fell, and he said dejectedly to Ryaji, I understand, Ryaji. Susumaru watched Ryaji and the others playfully banter, like a happy family. A strange feeling stirred within her. Is this what a family feels like? So warm, so comfortable. Then, under this strange sensation, Susumaru slowly drifted off to sleep. At this time, Tamayo said to Ryaji and Tanjiro, we're also planning to leave here. There was a battle here, and Muzan Kibutsuji could come at any time. We must find a safe place to hide as soon as possible. Tanjiro. Should we take Nezuko under our care? 113, Chapter 113. Hearing this, Tanjiro was taken aback. He clearly hadn't expected Tamayo to make such a request. While I can't guarantee absolute safety, it's certainly safer than having her fight alongside you, Tamayo continued. Tanjiro began to waver, thinking that a peaceful life with Tamayo might be more suitable for Nezuko, a young girl. Nezuko seemed to understand Tamayo's words and immediately clasped Tanjiro's hand tightly, as if telling him that compared to a peaceful life, she preferred to be with him. Tanjiro looked at Nezuko and understood her meaning from her eyes. His heart warmed. Just as Tanjiro was about to refuse Tamayo's suggestion, Ryaji rejected it first. Tamayo-san, I can't agree to this proposal. I'll only feel at ease if Nezuko stays by my side, Ryaji refused. Ryaji's reason was simple, Nezuko's life was linked to his. Therefore, he preferred to keep control of her fate rather than entrusting it to others. Of course, Ryaji wouldn't tell Tamayo and Tanjiro this, as it was a secret no one could know. Tanjiro was also taken aback by Ryaji's words. He hadn't expected Ryaji to refuse to let Nezuko go either. Had Ryaji truly fallen for Nezuko? Or was he feeling guilty after seeing Nezuko's body and wanted to take responsibility for her? Amidst his random thoughts, Tanjiro dismissed these messy ideas. Since Ryaji didn't want to be separated from Nezuko, he shouldn't let Nezuko go either. I'm truly sorry, Tamayo-san. Thank you for your concern, but Nezuko is my only family. I absolutely cannot abandon her. Nezuko must stay with me and Ryaji. Tanjiro expressed his stance to Tamayo. Seeing the three of them so inseparable, Tamayo realized it was their collective decision and didn't press further. I understand. Then, good luck to you. Tamayo said in farewell. Yushiro, seeing that Nezuko wasn't staying, felt relieved. He didn't want too many people around Tamayo, otherwise, he wouldn't have a chance to be alone with her. Then, goodbye. We need to erase the traces of the battle before we leave. You should go now. Yushiro seized the opportunity, wanting to quickly send Ryaji, Tanjiro, and Nezuko away. Goodbye, Yushiro and Tamayo-san. Tanjiro politely bid farewell to Tamayo and Yushiro. Ryaji didn't say much in farewell to Tamayo. Before leaving, he took one last look at Tamayo's beautiful face before turning and leaving. Nezuko quickly followed. Tanjiro waved goodbye to Tamayo and Yushiro before following suit. Just as Tanjiro stepped onto the stairs, Yushiro suddenly called out, Tanjiro. Tanjiro stopped and turned back, looking at Yushiro questioningly, waiting for what he had to say. Nezuko, she's a beauty, Yushiro said without turning his head, still facing away from Tanjiro. Hearing this, Tanjiro smiled affirmatively. With a happy laugh, he disappeared from Tamayo's sight. 114, Chapter 114. Ryaji and Nezuko were waiting for Tanjiro in a dark corner. A ray of morning sunlight pierced through the dilapidated walls. The sunlight filtering through the broken building cast a desolate air over the surrounding wreckage. Tanjiro emerged from the basement exit. Seeing him, Ryaji patted Nezuko's head and said, Tanjiro, it's morning. Let Nezuko hide in the wood box. Tanjiro took off the wood box from his back and placed it on the ground. Nezuko opened the wood box herself and crawled inside. After getting in, she closed the box's door. Tanjiro then secured the wood box latch, ensuring the door wouldn't open due to gravity or inertia. At that moment, a crow flew into the dilapidated mansion and said to Ryaji and Tanjiro, next mission location, south-southeast. South-southeast. According to intelligence, there may be demon activity in the south-southeast area. Demon slayers Ryaji and Tanjiro Kamadu, proceed immediately. The crow then handed Ryaji the payment for the Asakusa, Tokyo mission. Hearing the crow assigning another mission, Tanjiro lost his energy. He had planned to persuade Ryaji to stay in Asakusa, Tokyo a little longer, but now it seemed impossible. After receiving the payment, Ryaji said to Tanjiro, "Let's go, Tanjiro." "Yes, Ryaji," Tanjiro replied weakly. Ryaji and Tanjiro then bought some dry rations for the road at Asakusa, Tokyo's morning market. After a quick preparation, they officially set off for the south-southeast. South-southeast was a rural area far from the city, a considerable distance from Asakusa, Tokyo. In a dark room of a luxurious mansion, Muzan Kibutsuji watched the sunlight filtering through a crack in the window, his expression extremely furious. Two useless fools, they couldn't even handle two brats. Muzan Kibutsuji then extended his hand towards the ray of sunlight. When the sunlight touched his hand, his palm showed signs of being burned to ashes and dissipating. At the same time, Muzan Kibutsuji let out a pained groan and retracted his hand. After being exposed to sunlight, Muzan Kibutsuji became even more enraged. This time, his anger wasn't directed at Susumaru and Yahaba but at his own weakness. This was the weakness Muzan Kibutsuji most wanted to overcome in his life. If he, Muzan Kibutsuji, no longer feared sunlight, he would replace the current government and become the ruler of the world. Nakame, order lower rank 6 to handle this matter. Bring the heads of the demon slayers with the flower cards on their ears to see me. Through his blood connection, Muzan Kibutsuji issued an order to the upper ranks, who possessed a large amount of his blood, to have the lower ranks kill Ryaji and Tanjiro. Muzan Kibutsuji's method of contacting the 12 Kazuki was similar to using a local area network to send information. Since the 12 Kazuki all possessed a large amount of Muzan Kibutsuji's blood, this blood was certainly connected to Muzan Kibutsuji himself. This connection was like a local area network. Therefore, as long as they were within the local area network, Muzan Kibutsuji could sense the presence of other demons. If they were close enough, Muzan Kibutsuji could directly access the other demons' vision. This is why Muzan Kibutsuji could sense Susumaru and Yahaba's hunting failure. 115, Chapter 115. After 2 days of travel, Ryaji and Tanjiro arrived in the south-southeast area. Far from the city, they returned to the familiar mountains. This made Tanjiro incredibly comfortable, as he had grown up in the mountains. The two quickly descended the mountainside to the nearby villagers' fields. Following the path between the fields, Ryaji planned to visit a nearby village to inquire about the situation. As soon as they reached the village entrance, they saw a familiar figure kneeling by the roadside, clinging to a young woman and pleading bitterly, "Please, please, marry me. I don't know when I'll die, so I want to get married first. Please, please, you must marry me. Ryaji, I think I see Zenitsu Agatsuma." Tanjiro couldn't believe he'd encounter Zenitsu Agatsuma in the south-southeast area. "It's not, I think. That's Zenitsu. Let's go take a look. That girl seems quite scared." Ryaji hadn't expected to meet Zenitsu Agatsuma here either. He decided to see what was going on with Zenitsu, who had apparently scared the girl so badly. Tanjiro naturally had no objections. Zenitsu was, after all, a comrade. So, Ryaji and Tanjiro approached Zenitsu. "Zenitsu, what are you doing clinging to this girl? Look how scared you've made her." Ryaji put a hand on Zenitsu's shoulder. Zenitsu turned to Ryaji. Upon seeing him, Zenitsu was startled, instantly straightening up. He stammered in surprise, Ryaji, what are you doing here? What a coincidence." "It is quite a coincidence," Ryaji replied with a faint smile. Then, Ryaji looked at Zenitsu's kneeling posture and asked the girl, "Miss, is this blonde guy proposing to you?" The girl looked at Ryaji and was captivated by his delicate features and unique aura. So handsome. Her eyes shone with adoration. She slapped Zenitsu across the face, then shyly approached Ryaji, taking his hand. "Little brother, will you marry me?" Zenitsu was thunderstruck, wishing he could die on the spot. "Waya, I don't want to live anymore." Zenitsu immediately reached for his Nichiren sword to commit suicide. Seeing this, Tanjiro stopped him. "Zenitsu, don't be reckless. Ryaji stole my woman, and I can't beat him. I don't want to live." "Waya, no. I have to tell Ryaji's fiancée about this and have her teach him a lesson." Zenitsu started crying and clinging to Ryaji. Faced with such a forward girl, Ryaji was somewhat surprised but not particularly excited. He calmly refused. "I'm sorry, I already have a fiancé. Hearing this, the girl's face fell, her hopes dashed. Ryaji then gave Zenitsu a sharp rap on the forehead. Zenitsu, you don't even know this girl, and she hasn't agreed to marry you. How can you say I stole your woman? 116, Chapter 116. I don't care. She was going to marry me. If Ryaji wasn't so handsome, she would definitely like me. She wouldn't have been snatched away. Zenitsu Agatsuma began to act unreasonably. Ryaji could only smile wryly. Zenitsu was quite self-absorbed. But Zenitsu did have a correct understanding of good looks, acknowledging that Ryaji was handsome. At this moment, the girl slapped Zenitsu across the face again, sending him spinning in circles. I didn't like you. If you hadn't been lying on the roadside looking like you were about to die, I wouldn't have spoken to you. The girl stated seriously. Zenitsu asked in surprise, didn't you talk to me because you liked me and were worried about me? No, absolutely not. I neither like you nor worry about you. After stating this emphatically and loudly, the girl angrily left. Her anger stemmed mainly from Zenitsu, and partly from being rejected by Ryaji. Of course, she wasn't angry at Ryaji himself, but at the fact that she couldn't be with him. Wait, won't you reconsider? I'm a really nice guy, and I'll spoil my wife. Hey! Zenitsu shouted after her as she walked away, still not giving up. Watching Zenitsu aggressively sell himself to the girl, like he was hawking goods, Ryaji found it somewhat amusing. This amusement wasn't mockery but rather a smile at Zenitsu's endearing behavior. The girl, however, didn't pay Zenitsu any further attention and continued to walk away. She's already gone. Find someone else. Ryaji teased Zenitsu, who still harbored a glimmer of hope. Do you think eligible bachelorettes are so easy to find? Ryaji, I don't care. It's your fault she left. If you had begged a little longer, she definitely would have agreed. Ryaji, you have to find me a wife. I remember you promised me that as long as I don't join the hidden department, you'll introduce Tanjiro's sister to me. Hurry up, when are you going to introduce me? Zenitsu clung to Ryaji, repeatedly asking him to introduce Nezuko. Ryaji shook his head helplessly and said, it's not the right time yet. I'll let you meet tonight. Meet tonight? Why tonight? Are you trying to get us to consummate the marriage early? Zenitsu's smile became increasingly mischievous. Tanjiro couldn't stand it anymore and, mimicking Ryaji, gave Zenitsu a sharp rap on the forehead. Tanjiro, what was that for? Zenitsu immediately touched his forehead and asked Tanjiro. Your thoughts are too indecent. I won't entrust my sister to you. I'll only entrust my sister to Ryaji. Tanjiro told Zenitsu. Despair crossed Zenitsu's face. He begged Tanjiro, no, Ryaji already has girl. Entrusting your sister to him isn't suitable. Entrust her to me, and I'll definitely make your sister happy. 117, Chapter 117. Ryaji knew where Zenitsu Agatsuma's mind had wandered, but he didn't think Zenitsu was a pervert. After all, Zenitsu was in his adolescence and naturally curious and yearning for romantic relationships. Ryaji understood that Zenitsu was a simple-minded good kid. Though sometimes a bit lacking, it was precisely because of this that Ryaji was willing to be friends with him. Alright, since we've bumped into each other, let's work together. Let's go ask the villagers for information. Ryaji steered the conversation back to the main topic, suggesting they ask the villagers for information. To prevent Zenitsu from harassing other young women, Ryaji chose to have them work together. After inquiring, they didn't find any useful information. The village was peaceful, and no one had gone missing. Zenitsu, somewhat tired, leaned against a large tree outside the village to rest. He complained to Ryaji, I'm so hungry. Do you have any food? Ryaji looked at Tanjiro and gave him a nod. Tanjiro immediately took out the dried fish he had been carrying and handed it to Zenitsu. Thanks. Zenitsu thanked Tanjiro, took the dried fish, and began to eat. After eating a few pieces, Zenitsu noticed that Ryaji and Tanjiro weren't eating. He asked, aren't you guys eating? The food's all in your hands. How are we supposed to eat? Tanjiro grumbled. Zenitsu then divided the dried fish in half and gave some back to Tanjiro. Ryaji took out his own portion. He wasn't as hungry as Zenitsu, so he ate slowly and sparingly. Tanjiro, having given half his dried fish to Zenitsu, didn't eat all of his, only a little to satisfy his hunger. Zenitsu didn't care and quickly devoured all the dried fish in his hands. Satisfied, he stretched, leaned against the tree, and instantly fell asleep. Seeing this, Tanjiro was speechless. He wanted to slap Zenitsu awake, eating and sleeping like a pig. However, Tanjiro only thought about it and didn't actually do it. Ryaji didn't mind, it didn't affect him. But when Zenitsu started snoring a second later, Ryaji felt the urge to punch him. Ryaji couldn't stand annoying noises. The water demon clone who liked to grind its teeth had been instantly beheaded by Ryaji because of its irritating grinding sound. Fortunately, Zenitsu wasn't a demon, otherwise he might have really died under Ryaji's sword. Ryaji could only endure Zenitsu's snoring. Tanjiro's tolerance for noise was much higher than Ryaji's, so he didn't mind Zenitsu's snoring at all. Ryaji, should we conduct a thorough search of the south-southeast area next? Tanjiro asked Ryaji. Having found no useful information in the village, a thorough search was the next logical step. 118, Chapter 118. Hearing this, Ryaji said, a search is necessary, but not everywhere. Tanjiro, I ask you, what are the characteristics of a demon? Faced with Ryaji's sudden question, Tanjiro thought for a moment before answering. Demons are afraid of sunlight and having their necks cut off by a Nichiren sword. Wrong. Those are the weaknesses of demons, not their characteristics. Ryaji immediately refuted Tanjiro's answer. Ryaji knew Tanjiro's thinking was off, leading to the wrong answer. Characteristics are special features. Do you know why demons are called demons? Ryaji corrected Tanjiro's thinking. Tanjiro pondered for a while, still not understanding. He shook his head. Actually, demon is just a name to distinguish them from humans. The reason why they're called demons is that they are not human. They have a fundamental difference from humans, and that difference is the characteristic of a demon. The biggest difference between humans and demons is whether they eat people or not. Therefore, eating people is the characteristic of a demon. Ryaji explained to Tanjiro. Tanjiro felt Ryaji's statement was not rigorous. Ryaji, if eating people is the characteristic of a demon, then some psychopaths also eat people. Does that mean they are demons? Nezuko doesn't eat people, is she human? Faced with Tanjiro's nitpicking, Ryaji smiled wryly. After taking a deep breath, he explained to Tanjiro. Those are special cases. Even if a person eats many people, they are at most a psychopath. Their human nature cannot be changed. Nezuko, even if she hasn't eaten a single person or a drop of blood, her nature as a demon cannot be changed. Because they are different species. Normal people wouldn't be psychopathic enough to eat people. Conversely, normal demons can't all be like Nezuko, able to refrain from eating people. Even Tamayo and Yashiro, despite their self-control, must drink human blood to survive. Therefore, it's correct to say that eating people is a characteristic of demons, because most demons cannot survive without eating people. Ryaji patiently explained to Tanjiro. Listening to Ryaji's serious explanation, Tanjiro finally understood. The characteristics mentioned were determined based on whether the being was human or demon. Tanjiro nodded. I understand, Ryaji. We've digressed. Once you understand that eating people is a characteristic of demons, you'll understand my search plan. Ryaji brought the conversation back on track. Tanjiro understood Ryaji's plan. Based on this characteristic, demons would likely not be found in uninhabited deep mountains but on mountains near villages where they could find people to eat. Therefore, although the south-southeast area was vast, searching the mountains around the nearby villages would save a lot of unnecessary effort. Wake up, Zenitsu. Today, we'll conduct our initial investigation within a 10-kilometer radius of this village. Ryaji stood up and assigned Tanjiro their task for the day. 119, Chapter 119. Hearing this, Tanjiro went to Zenitsu Agatsuma, who was fast asleep, and without hesitation, slapped him across the face. Slap. A crisp sound rang out. Zenitsu jumped up, frantically looking around. Did a demon appear? Where? Who hit me just now? Zenitsu asked in a confused three-part question. Ryaji walked up to Zenitsu, patted his shoulder, and said with a smile, Zenitsu, it's broad daylight. Demons won't appear. You're a demon slayer, at least act professional, okay? Oh, I see. That's why those demons only come out at night. They're sleeping during the day. Zenitsu looked enlightened. Tanjiro was speechless. This brain was probably incurable. Ryaji thought Zenitsu's statement made some sense. It wasn't entirely nonsense. After all, because demons fear sunlight, they probably wouldn't do much during the day besides sleeping. Would you expect demons to contribute to society? Let's go search the mountain, Ryaji said to Zenitsu. Ryaji, why are we searching the mountain? Isn't it better to relax and sleep here? You're always fighting demons. Don't you get tired? It's our job, but you don't need to be so dedicated. Shouldn't you enjoy life more? After all, Ryaji, your fiancée, Keiko, will be at least 10 years before she can serve you. You should think about how to survive those 10 years of waiting. Zenitsu didn't understand Ryaji's serious work attitude. In his opinion, finding a pretty girl he liked and living a simple life was his pursuit. Ryaji was surprised that Zenitsu was so considerate of his future marriage. Probably only romantic matters could get Zenitsu to care so much. However, Zenitsu was right. Regarding Keiko Himejima, the little girl he had promised to marry, Ryaji did have to wait 10 years before she could legally marry him. 10 years was indeed a long time. Ryaji sighed inwardly, then put aside his sentimental thoughts. Don't worry, I'll definitely live longer than you. And I'll definitely have more wives. This remark immediately stung Zenitsu, a direct provocation to him as a single dog. But Zenitsu knew Ryaji had the capacity for multiple wives. So, Zenitsu could only fume, helplessly and enviously complaining, that's too cruel. Can you leave a man some dignity, Ryaji? Enough chit-chat. Tanjiro, grab Zenitsu, let's go. Ryaji didn't want to continue bickering with Zenitsu and instructed Tanjiro to take Zenitsu along to search the mountain. Tanjiro didn't say anything. It was better to have Zenitsu with them searching for demons than letting him harass other young women. So, Tanjiro grabbed Zenitsu's hand, firmly restraining him. Tanjiro, what are you doing grabbing me? You're too close. I like women, even if you do this, I won't give in. Hey Tanjiro, don't pull me. I can walk myself. Amidst Zenitsu's complaints, Ryaji and the others began their search around the village. 120, Chapter 120. Ryaji, Tanjiro, and Zenitsu Agatsuma were searching for traces of demons on the mountain under the afternoon sun. However, the key to the search rested on Tanjiro, whose sensitive nose could detect scents that Ryaji and Zenitsu couldn't. Therefore, only Tanjiro could find clues. Ryaji and Zenitsu were essentially accompanying Tanjiro. Ryaji, are you sure we can find demons this way? Zenitsu was completely unconcerned about finding demons, looking around aimlessly. We'll find them, but it will take time, Ryaji replied calmly. I think we don't need to actively search the mountain. We could just stay in the village temporarily. The demons will come to us at night. Wouldn't that be great? Zenitsu shared his idea. Ryaji hadn't expected Zenitsu to suggest a wait-and-see strategy. Then, we'll kill every single one, leaving not a single one alive, Zenitsu continued, acting like a heroic swordsman, gesticulating wildly. Ryaji was amused by Zenitsu's antics and played along. If the demons don't appear, should we settle down in the village, marry, have children, and continue waiting? Zenitsu nodded immediately. Exactly. We must protect the peace of the village and never let demons harm the villagers. Thinking Ryaji was on the same page, Zenitsu leaned in and whispered, don't compete with me for women, especially the one I proposed to today. Seeing Zenitsu still thinking about the girl, Ryaji gave him a sharp rap on the head and poured cold water on him. What are you thinking? You're still thinking about that girl. Zenitsu immediately covered his head and distanced himself from Ryaji. Zenitsu, you'll eventually die under a woman's skirt, Ryaji said unexpectedly. Zenitsu didn't understand what Ryaji meant and retorted, that's much better than dying at the hands of a demon. Ryaji was speechless and ignored Zenitsu. Ryaji understood that Zenitsu was using the wait-and-see strategy as an excuse to stay in the village so he could find love. So, Ryaji ignored Zenitsu, letting him bask in his beautiful fantasy. Then, Ryaji turned his attention to Tanjiro, whose expression was serious. He hadn't paid attention to the banter between Ryaji and Zenitsu. Seeing that Ryaji was ignoring him, Zenitsu tried to persuade him. Ryaji, won't you consider my suggestion? After all, procreation is the fundamental mission of a man. Ryaji ignored him and asked Tanjiro, Tanjiro, any discoveries? Tanjiro shook his head. No demon scent detected yet. Seeing no scent to follow, Ryaji said, then let's rest by the stream for a while, then change direction and continue searching. 121, Chapter 121. Tanjiro nodded, agreeing to Ryaji's suggestion to rest for a while. Ryaji, Tanjiro, and Zenitsu Agatsuma returned to the stream they had passed earlier to rest. The afternoon sun was at its most intense, and after 2 hours of searching, the three were somewhat tired. As masters of breathing techniques, their mountain search wasn't a leisurely stroll but high-speed movement through the forest. The earlier banter between Ryaji and Zenitsu had occurred after they temporarily slowed down. As soon as Zenitsu reached the stream, he lay down and drank greedily, completely disregarding his image. Ryaji and Tanjiro took out their water bottles, crouched by the stream, filled them, and drank. Compared to Zenitsu, who put his mouth directly into the water, Ryaji and Tanjiro were much more refined. The mountain water was crystal clear, naturally green and unpolluted, with a perceptible sweetness. Ryaji had no concerns about the water quality. As Zenitsu was drinking, he suddenly screamed and jumped up. Ouch, ouch, ouch! Zenitsu jumped up in pain and ran to Ryaji, his face full of misery, pleading for help. Mouth, mouth. It took Zenitsu great effort to utter those 2 words. Ryaji and Tanjiro saw a crab clinging to Zenitsu's lip with its claws. Ha ha ha. Tanjiro burst into laughter. Ryaji couldn't help but cover his face and laugh. Zenitsu was quite a character. He could even get his mouth clamped by a crab while drinking water. Seeing Ryaji and Tanjiro laughing at him, Zenitsu was distraught and urged anxiously, hurry up and get it off. As Zenitsu spoke, the crab clinging to his lip moved with his lips. With this movement, the crab's other claw clamped down. This time, the pain made Zenitsu scream and jump again. In a fit of desperation, Zenitsu tried to pull it off with his hands but gave up immediately. He realized it was a self-defeating strategy. So, he again pleaded with Ryaji and Tanjiro, think of a way. Ryaji stopped laughing and said to Zenitsu, stand still, unless you want your lip to come off. Zenitsu immediately became nervous and shrank back a few steps. Ryaji, don't do anything rash. With Zenitsu's words, the crab clamped to his mouth moved up and down, looking incredibly comical. Tanjiro had caught crabs before and knew the quickest way to remove a crab's grip was to break its claws. Otherwise, one could only wait for the crab to release its grip. Waiting for the crab to release its grip, however, depended on the crab's mood. If it was in a good mood, it might let go in a moment. If not, it might not let go for hours. So, do you want me to remove it? If not, then forget it. Seeing Zenitsu shrinking back, Ryaji decided not to help him remove the crab. 122, Chapter 122. Get it. Seeing Ryaji's unwillingness to help, Zenitsu could only grit his teeth and trust him. Tanjiro watched quietly as Ryaji prepared to remove the crab. Zenitsu stood trembling before Ryaji, fear in his eyes. Seeing Zenitsu's nervousness, Ryaji said, you're shaking so much. Close your eyes. You won't shake if you close your eyes. Ryaji was afraid that Zenitsu would run away if he saw him draw his sword, so he had Zenitsu close his eyes to ease his tension. Zenitsu, trusting Ryaji, closed his eyes. Ryaji positioned himself to the side, allowing Zenitsu to face away from him. Then, Ryaji instantly drew his 2-colored Nichiren sword. In the next instant, the sharp blade descended towards the crab on Zenitsu's lip. The blade, reflecting the sunlight, flickered through Zenitsu's eyelids, momentarily dazzling him. Ryaji's Nichiren sword landed on the crab but didn't cut it. As if sensing the killing intent of Ryaji's Nichiren sword, the crab immediately released its grip and fell to the ground, scurrying back into the stream. At the same time, sensing something amiss, Zenitsu opened his eyes. The sight before him made him sit down hard on the ground. There happened to be a protruding rock there. His fall resulted in a painful blow to his backside. The pain made Zenitsu jump up. In that jump, his nose brushed against Ryaji's Nichiren sword. He felt the hairs on his nose being scraped off by the sharp blade. Zenitsu stiffened, his body frozen like a statue. Enduring the pain in his backside, he stared wide-eyed, not daring to move. His expression gradually contorted with discomfort. Ryaji sheathed his sword. The moment he did, Zenitsu cried out. Wah! It hurts so much. Ryaji, were you trying to kill me? Ryaji said coldly, all right. Stop yelling. Don't you trust my swordsmanship? You should have told me. Zenitsu complained resentfully. With your courage, if I told you, you'd probably run away, Ryaji retorted. Zenitsu couldn't argue and glared at Ryaji angrily. Quickly fill your water bottle. Let's search in another direction. Ryaji didn't want to continue arguing with Zenitsu and gave him instructions. Zenitsu finally reacted, touched his lip, and found the crab was gone. His mood improved. He had been too scared and focused on the pain in his backside to notice the crab had already released its grip and escaped. Where's the crab? Zenitsu asked. It's already gone, Ryaji replied calmly. 123, Chapter 123. Oh, Zenitsu Agatsuma was disappointed. He had been contemplating whether to steam or braise the crab. Now, he clearly wouldn't have the chance for revenge. Zenitsu then clutched his backside, limped over, took out his water bottle, and awkwardly crouched by the stream to fill it. Tanjiro, seeing Zenitsu's strange gait, asked Ryaji, Ryaji, what happened to Zenitsu? Ryaji shook his head, indicating he didn't know. Seeing Ryaji's lack of knowledge, Tanjiro asked Zenitsu with concern, Zenitsu, what's wrong with your bottom? Zenitsu forced a wry smile and explained, nothing, I just fell on my bottom when Ryaji scared me. Ryaji then looked at the spot where Zenitsu had sat, and saw a protruding, slightly jagged rock. Ryaji understood what had likely happened. Zenitsu had probably been hit squarely by the rock. Fortunately, it hadn't hit his, you-know-what. Otherwise, Zenitsu would have to consider becoming a eunuch or a woman. However, Zenitsu loved women so much that if he lost his capabilities, he would probably go completely mad. The fact that Zenitsu was perfectly normal meant his, you-know-what hadn't been injured, only his bottom. Ryaji, Tanjiro, and Zenitsu continued their search in another direction. Considering Zenitsu's injured bottom, Ryaji and Tanjiro didn't run too fast. Because of this, their search efficiency decreased significantly. Soon, dusk fell. Zenitsu's cowardly nature immediately showed itself, forcing Ryaji to slow down. Zenitsu was about to cling to Ryaji entirely. If Ryaji and Tanjiro ran, Zenitsu would probably explode on the spot. Ryaji, it's already evening. Can we go down the mountain? Zenitsu asked fearfully. Zenitsu, evening is when demons are most active. Going down now might cause us to miss a good opportunity. Ryaji had no intention of going down. Tanjiro had no objections, he knew this. The more it got into the night, the less they could slack off. Can we rest for a while? Zenitsu suggested. Ryaji considered it and finally agreed. Even though he didn't need much rest, he still had to consider Tanjiro and Zenitsu's feelings. Ryaji's stamina was better than Tanjiro and Zenitsu's, thanks to the breath of the forest. After nearly half a month of exploration, Ryaji had grasped some characteristics of the breath of the forest. From what he understood, the breath of the forest was a supportive breathing technique. It lacked offensive capabilities and couldn't enhance physical attributes. Its only characteristic was to accelerate the recovery of body cells. In other words, Ryaji's recovery ability was stronger than others thanks to the breath of the forest. This was why Ryaji was basically never tired, as physical exhaustion could be quickly recovered through the breath of the forest. 124, Chapter 124. The limit of the breath of the forest's recovery ability still needed to be tested. Ryaji hadn't been injured yet, so he hadn't had the chance to test it. Ryaji certainly wasn't going to foolishly injure himself for the sake of experimentation. Ryaji then found a relatively flat and open area to rest. Zenitsu, afraid of the dark, gathered some branches nearby and built a small fire. As soon as Zenitsu sat down by the fire, his stomach rumbled. Hearing this, Ryaji knew Zenitsu was hungry. Ryaji and Tanjiro both offered Zenitsu their dried fish. Ryaji looked at Tanjiro and said, Tanjiro, let Zenitsu have mine. Yours probably isn't enough for him. Tanjiro put his dried fish away. At noon, Tanjiro had witnessed Zenitsu's appetite. He had eaten the equivalent of Tanjiro's entire day's rations. Ryaji had much more dried fish than Tanjiro, because he ate less. This was due to the breath of the forest. In addition to accelerating physical recovery, the breath of the forest could keep the metabolism of all body cells at a very low level. In short, it was like putting a phone in energy-saving mode. In energy-saving mode, Ryaji naturally didn't need to eat a lot to maintain his body's activity. However, this would also limit Ryaji's strength. Therefore, he didn't use the breath of the forest 24/7. When necessary, he used the breath of the water. Tanjiro put his dried fish away because he knew Ryaji ate less than him and needed food more. Therefore, Tanjiro wouldn't try to act tough in front of Ryaji. That would be foolish. Ryaji, you should eat some too. Zenitsu, this time, didn't eat by himself but gestured for Ryaji to help himself. Ryaji naturally wouldn't refuse, as it was his food. He took 2 pieces of dried fish and ate them. Zenitsu, in the wilderness, you must learn to allocate food rationally, Ryaji instructed Zenitsu while eating. Ryaji, I understand. I won't eat all of yours. Zenitsu, aware of his large appetite, replied with a grin. Tanjiro then asked Zenitsu, Zenitsu, what about your food? Did you eat it all? He. Zenitsu scratched his head sheepishly. Well, I spent all my allowance on girls, so I didn't buy any food. Spent it on girls. The innocent Tanjiro didn't understand Zenitsu. He went to brothels, Ryaji explained directly to Tanjiro. Tanjiro understood and, somewhat embarrassed and surprised, questioned Zenitsu. Zenitsu, isn't that a place for adults? How could you go to such a place? Zenitsu hadn't expected Ryaji to reveal his secret so calmly and nonchalantly. He became even more embarrassed and explained, I'm a victim too. Those girls forced me in. I couldn't help it. They took all my allowance and kicked me out. 125, DDDS Chapter 125. So, you've lost your virginity? Ryaji asked casually. Zenitsu Agatsuma fidgeted, embarrassed. Ryaji, your question is too embarrassing. Seeing Zenitsu's fidgeting, Ryaji knew he had probably lost his virginity. However, Ryaji didn't feel disgusted or repulsed by Zenitsu going to brothels. After all, Zenitsu was in his adolescence, full of energy, and Ryaji understood. Tanjiro also realized Zenitsu had likely lost his virginity, but he didn't feel disgusted or repulsed either. He sensed Zenitsu was a good person. Perhaps this was something Zenitsu wanted to accomplish before he died. Otherwise, he wouldn't want to marry every girl he met. Even if you didn't say it, I could already guess, Ryaji said unexpectedly. Zenitsu, knowing his secret was out, didn't say anything, only offering an embarrassed smile. This showed that Zenitsu was a shy person. So, what about you two? Are you still virgins? Zenitsu curiously looked at Ryaji and Tanjiro. Tanjiro nodded without saying much. He wasn't interested in this topic. For Tanjiro, virginity was unimportant. His priority was to turn Nezuko back into a human. Ryaji didn't hesitate and calmly replied, no. Tanjiro's indifference wasn't unexpected to Zenitsu, who knew Tanjiro wasn't interested in such matters. Ryaji's answer also didn't surprise Zenitsu. He knew Ryaji was always straightforward. Unless it was a secret that couldn't be revealed, Ryaji would generally respond. If Ryaji were still a virgin, that would have surprised Zenitsu. After all, a handsome guy like Ryaji would probably be forced by women, even if he didn't want to be. Zenitsu then leaned closer to Ryaji, a mischievous smile on his face, and started gossiping. Ryaji, can you tell me when it happened? Who was the woman? Was she pretty? Where did it happen? Ryaji immediately gave him a sharp rap on the head. Why are you asking so many questions? I can't tell you that. I was just asking. It's okay if you don't want to say. Zenitsu covered his head, not pressing Ryaji for details. The topic wasn't suitable for detailed discussion. Ryaji naturally wouldn't say. His loss of virginity dated back to before he became an ultradimensional traveler. But that was a long time ago. At that moment, the mist cypress box Tanjiro had placed aside suddenly shook, as if something was trying to get out. Seeing this, Tanjiro knew Nezuko wanted to come out for some air. Zenitsu was startled by the noise, immediately hugging Ryaji. Tanjiro, what's in the box? Is it something that eats people? 126, Chapter 126. Ryaji said to Zenitsu, perfect. Let's introduce you to a beauty. Zenitsu immediately became excited, shaking Ryaji's arm. Ryaji, really? Is there a beauty in the box? I haven't read many books, don't lie to me. Tanjiro had already removed the latch from the box. A fair hand pushed open the small wooden door of the box. Ryaji, there's someone inside. Zenitsu's heart leaped into his throat as he pointed at the box in terror. Ryaji ignored Zenitsu's fuss. Nezuko crawled out of the box. Nezuko's face was turned towards Ryaji and Zenitsu. She looked innocently at the unfamiliar Zenitsu. Zenitsu stared fixedly at Nezuko, his eyes full of disbelief. A demon. Zenitsu's voice trembled as he looked at Nezuko. After the trembling subsided, Zenitsu seemed captivated by Nezuko's cute appearance. He exclaimed involuntarily, "So pretty." Then, saliva dripped from Zenitsu's open mouth. Tanjiro helplessly reminded Zenitsu, "Zenitsu, watch your drool." Zenitsu subconsciously wiped the drool. Ryaji hadn't expected Zenitsu to react this way to Nezuko. He had overestimated Zenitsu's immunity to beautiful women. Fortunately, Zenitsu wasn't bad at heart, otherwise, many women would have suffered at his hands. "You've lost your virginity, can't you show some self-control?" Ryaji teased Zenitsu. Zenitsu replied directly, "Those low-class women from the brothel can't compare to this young lady." Ryaji chuckled inwardly. Low class? This guy chose to lose his virginity in a brothel. Behave yourself. Ryaji patted Zenitsu's head, signaling him to calm down. "Tanjiro, you introduce her to Zenitsu," Ryaji said to Tanjiro. Zenitsu sat upright, his gaze fixed on Nezuko. Nezuko leaned on Tanjiro's shoulder, lost in thought. "Zenitsu, this is my sister, Nezuko. You can feel her difference, she's a demon. But don't worry, Nezuko doesn't eat people," Tanjiro introduced Nezuko. "She's really a demon," Zenitsu said with disappointment. Ryaji knew why Zenitsu was disappointed. Because Nezuko was a demon, Zenitsu thought it was impossible for a demon and a human to be together. "Ryaji, since Nezuko is a demon, can I not be with her?" Zenitsu asked Ryaji with disappointment. Ryaji smiled. This guy really fell in love with everyone he met. You fall in love with everyone you meet. How can you be so fickle? Ryaji teased Zenitsu. 127, Chapter 127. Tanjiro knew Zenitsu Agatsuma was simply attracted to Nezuko's beauty, hence his desire to be with her. Therefore, Tanjiro didn't believe Zenitsu was someone Nezuko could entrust her life to. Tanjiro already had someone in mind, and that person was Ryaji. Regardless of whether Ryaji liked Nezuko, based on his reliable character, Nezuko would be safe with him. "Zenitsu, do you truly like Nezuko?" Ryaji asked seriously. Zenitsu's expression also turned serious. After a moment of thought, he nodded affirmatively. "Yes. If you truly like Nezuko, you must gain Tanjiro's approval as her brother. You must prove to Tanjiro that you're the man Nezuko can entrust her life to," Ryaji said to Zenitsu. Tanjiro was taken aback. Was Ryaji playing matchmaker? After hearing Ryaji's words, Zenitsu looked at Tanjiro, apparently considering whether he could shoulder such a responsibility. But can a demon truly feel emotions for a human? Zenitsu felt uncertain about Nezuko, a demon. Ryaji nodded. "Nezuko has feelings for me and Tanjiro. If you truly like Nezuko, join us and find a way to turn her back into a human." Can Nezuko become human again? Zenitsu was surprised. He had never heard of a demon turning back into a human. "It's possible. I've introduced Tanjiro's sister to you, and I've played matchmaker. What you do next is up to you. Don't say I didn't give you a chance." Ryaji changed the subject. Ryaji's matchmaking was partly to use Nezuko to bring Zenitsu into their group and partly to fulfill his promise to Zenitsu at Mount Fujikazan. Ryaji knew from the anime that Zenitsu would undergo a transformation and become a powerful user of the thunder-breathing style. Ryaji naturally wanted to recruit such a powerful comrade. Zenitsu fell into deep thought. From Ryaji's words, he understood that getting together with Nezuko would be extremely difficult. Tanjiro didn't know Ryaji's plan, but seeing Zenitsu's thoughtful expression, he knew he was seriously considering it. Such a serious attitude showed Zenitsu was taking this very seriously. As Zenitsu was pondering, Tanjiro's expression changed. "Ryaji, I sense a demon's presence." Ryaji patted Zenitsu on the shoulder. "Let's put Nezuko aside for now. If you're willing, you'll have many opportunities to see her in the future." Then, Ryaji looked at Tanjiro and gestured for him to lead the way. Without hesitation, Tanjiro shouldered the box, grabbed Nezuko, and darted towards the depths of a forest like an arrow. Ryaji immediately followed. Zenitsu, a beat behind, saw Tanjiro and Ryaji dash into the forest and, frightened, shouted and chased after them. "Wait for me." 128, Chapter 128. Ryaji. Tanjiro. Slow down. Zenitsu Agatsuma chased after them frantically. However, His shouts didn't slow Ryaji and Tanjiro down, instead, they seemed to speed up. The distance between Zenitsu and Ryaji widened to over 10 meters. Seeing his shouts were ineffective, Zenitsu shut up and tried to increase his speed to keep up. Although Ryaji didn't slow down, he was still aware of Zenitsu behind him, sensing his aura to confirm whether he was keeping up. After about 5 or 6 minutes of moving through the dense forest, Zenitsu faintly heard a child crying. Although the sound was faint, Zenitsu's ears were as sensitive as Tanjiro's nose. Hearing a child cry in the deep forest, Zenitsu's entire body tensed up. If he were to experience any more fright, Zenitsu would likely faint. Perhaps because he was truly terrified, Zenitsu's potential suddenly erupted, and he gradually caught up with Ryaji. After catching up, Zenitsu relaxed somewhat. He knew Ryaji was strong, a source of reassurance. As they rapidly approached the direction Tanjiro was leading them, the child's cry became clearer in Zenitsu's ears. "Ryaji, did you hear a child crying?" Zenitsu asked. Ryaji calmly replied, "No." Zenitsu knew his hearing was extraordinary, so he wasn't surprised that Ryaji hadn't heard it. He figured Ryaji and Tanjiro would hear it soon. At that moment, Tanjiro stopped and turned to Ryaji and Zenitsu. "Ryaji, Zenitsu, I think I heard a child crying. The human auras are probably those two children. The demon is nearby, probably searching for the children." Ryaji also heard the faint cry Zenitsu had mentioned earlier. It was extremely weak, mixed with the breeze, easily missed. Ryaji looked at Zenitsu, surprised by his sensitive hearing. He had heard the cry long ago. "Let's find the children first, then deal with the demon." Ryaji didn't hesitate to make the arrangements. Tanjiro nodded and followed the children's auras. Soon, a commotion came from the nearby forest. Tanjiro saw two children running out. Tanjiro was overjoyed and shouted, "Come here." A young boy looked over and, seeing Tanjiro, Ryaji, and Zenitsu, his face lit up with relief. However, a young girl, running too fast, tripped over a protruding rock and fell heavily. "Brother!" Yaa, the girl, who had been crying softly, now cried loudly. 129, Chapter 129. The boy stopped and turned to help his fallen sister. At that moment, a long, frog-like tongue, covered in slime, shot out from the forest. The slimy tongue instantly wrapped around the siblings and pulled them rapidly into the woods. Tanjiro's expression tightened, and he instinctively quickened his pace to prevent the situation from worsening. However, he was about 100 meters away from the siblings. It would take him at least 3 seconds to reach them. 3 seconds wasn't long, but it was enough for the long-tongued demon to carry them away. Water breathing, third form, flowing dance. Ryaji reacted faster than Tanjiro, immediately using water breathing, third form, flowing dance. Water breathing, third form, flowing dance, is a close combat technique that allows for a short burst of speed towards the enemy, effective up to 50 meters. Seeing Ryaji use flowing dance, Tanjiro released Nezuko's hand and said to Zenitsu, "Zenitsu, I'll leave Nezuko to you for now." Then, Tanjiro also used flowing dance to chase after them. Zenitsu stopped, looked at Nezuko, hesitated, and then gritted his teeth, taking Nezuko's hand and following. Feeling Nezuko's soft hand, Zenitsu felt a little giddy. He thought, so smooth. Ryaji, using flowing dance, closed the 50-meter distance in a single breath. Due to the momentum, he slid sideways, his feet making a skidding motion on the ground. This stabilized his balance while his right hand gripped his Nichiren sword, his waist slightly bent, ready to strike. Water breathing, 11th form, water shadow slash. Ryaji drew his Nichiren sword with lightning speed. He used his self-created 11th form, water shadow slash, to cover the remaining 50 meters. The long tongue dragging the sibling snapped in two the instant the blade flashed. Ryaji's rescue took less than 2 seconds. He severed the tongue just as it was about to pull the siblings into the dense forest. Tanjiro, having used flowing dance twice, arrived in front of the siblings a second after Ryaji's attack, shielding them from further attacks by the long-tongued demon. "Are you alright? Quickly go to that white-haired older brother." Tanjiro turned to the siblings. The siblings were still in shock and didn't follow Tanjiro's instructions. The girl cried incessantly, and the boy was too frightened by the severed tongue to react. At that moment, an angry voice came from the forest, "Damn it! My tongue can't heal." Then, the enraged, long-tongued demon crawled out of the dense forest, crawled, not walked, creating an eerie feeling. The long-tongued demon's already hideous features looked even more terrifying with its ferocious expression. 130, Chapter 130. Tanjiro had never seen a demon crawl on all fours before, but compared to the deformed hand demon, this long-tongued demon was relatively normal. Die. The long-tongued demon lunged at Tanjiro, attempting to bite his neck. Tanjiro kicked it away. Seeing this, Tanjiro was stunned. Was this long-tongued demon weak? Or was he too strong? As Tanjiro was stunned, Ryaji's voice came from behind. Tanjiro, what are you spacing out for? Quickly finish off that disgusting thing. Hearing this, Tanjiro sensed the fluctuation of the void's threads and launched a fatal blow at the long-tongued demon. Water breathing, 8th form, waterfall basin, destruction. As the long-tongued demon, knocked to the ground, tried to get up, Tanjiro's Nichiren sword came down heavily. The long-tongued demon's head was severed. Impossible. The dying long-tongued demon muttered in disbelief. Tanjiro hadn't expected to defeat the long-tongued demon with a single blow. He had thought he would have to fight it for a while before winning. The long-tongued demon's body and head completely burned to ashes, disappearing without a trace. It's over. Tanjiro still couldn't believe he had so easily killed a demon. Ryaji arrived, seeing Tanjiro spacing out. He patted Tanjiro on the shoulder. Tanjiro, what are you doing? Ryaji's pat snapped Tanjiro out of it. Ryaji, I didn't expect I could kill a demon so easily. Ryaji explained, your strength isn't bad. That long-tongued demon wasn't strong. Killing it wasn't difficult for you. Tanjiro nodded, quickly recovering from the thrill of the quick kill. He sheathed his Nichiren sword and knelt before the siblings. The danger is over. Little sister, don't cry anymore. Seeing the siblings, Tanjiro thought of Nezuko. The boy finally recovered, looked at Ryaji and Tanjiro, and comforted his crying sister. Mina, don't cry. These older brothers defeated the monster. Mina looked at Ryaji and Tanjiro and gradually stopped crying. Zenitsu, pulling Nezuko, arrived, panting heavily. Ryaji, Tanjiro. You guys were really reckless. You almost left me behind to kill a demon. If I hadn't run fast enough, you would have left me in this deep mountain. Zenitsu complained. Zenitsu, if we were any slower, those siblings would have been eaten by the demon. Tanjiro didn't respond to Zenitsu's complaints but explained the urgency of the situation. 131, Chapter 131. If Ryaji hadn't intervened in time, things wouldn't have been so easily resolved. Ryaji and Tanjiro would probably still be chasing the long-tongued demon that had abducted the siblings. Tanjiro thought of Jiyu Tomioka, who hadn't arrived in time, leading to the worsening of the situation. However, Tanjiro didn't blame Jiyu. Muzan Kibutsuji, the mastermind, was the one who deserved to die. Zenitsu, knowing he was in the wrong, didn't argue with Tanjiro. Saving people is important. I know that. I was just complaining, nothing else. Ryaji focused on the boy and asked, little brother, why were you two in the mountains so late at night? The boy's eyes welled up. He sobbed, we live nearby. Monsters suddenly broke into our house. An older brother with a boar mask saved us, and my sister and I ran away, but Mom and Dad were killed by the monsters. But my brother was in another room when it happened. I don't know if he's okay. Older brothers, can you go to my house and kill those monsters? Help me avenge Mom and Dad. Hearing the boy's story, Ryaji patted his head. We will. And we'll save your brother if he's still alive. Tanjiro had no objections. Seeing the siblings, he was reminded of his deceased younger siblings. Nezuko suddenly broke free from Zenitsu's grasp, went to the siblings, and hugged them. The siblings were surprised but soon comforted by Nezuko's warm embrace. Tanjiro, seeing Nezuko's actions, knew she was treating them as her younger siblings. From the boy's story, Ryaji learned that more than one demon had invaded the house. He suspected the boar mask was Inosuke Hashibira. Ryaji knew Inosuke from the anime. He, Tanjiro, and Zenitsu were a trio and had indeed met in the south-southeast area. Little brother, take us to your house. Ryaji didn't intend to waste time and gestured for the boy to lead them. Zenitsu, hearing Ryaji was going to cause trouble again, was helpless and had no reason to stop him. After all, the siblings were counting on Ryaji to save their possibly surviving brother. Led by the boy, Ryaji, Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Nezuko arrived at the house. Tanjiro looked at the large mansion in the mountains and secretly envied them. He thought the siblings' family wouldn't be well off, but their house was a large mansion. "It's here, older brother." The boy pointed at the mansion. At that moment, a mocking laugh came from the nearby forest. 132 Chapter 132. Hearing the mocking laughter, Zenitsu Agatsama's entire body tensed up, and he hugged Nezuko. Nezuko didn't react, allowing Zenitsu to hold her without even glancing at him. Zenitsu held her like a doll. He took advantage of the situation, but his hands remained decent, not touching any sensitive areas. He simply held her arms. Upon hearing the laughter, Ryaji's expression darkened, and he became alert, shielding the siblings behind him. Tanjiro placed his hand on his sword hilt, ready to draw his Nichiren sword. "Zenitsu, your hearing is excellent. From which direction did the sound come?" Ryaji asked. Zenitsu pointed in a direction. Ryaji immediately attacked in that direction. Water breathing, 11th form, water shadow slash. The trees within a 50-meter radius were severed by Ryaji's sword energy. He saw a dark figure leap into the air and land steadily on the ground. Such a strong aura. Even stronger than Susumaru's. Tanjiro's expression darkened after sensing the figure's aura. Ryaji didn't attack again, but his two-colored Nichiren sword was drawn. The dark figure approached them. In the light of the villa's fire, they saw the figure clearly. It was a young man, about 17 years old, short, with tattoo-like markings on his face. He had striking eyes. One pupil had the words "lower rank" and the other had the number 6. Seeing the words on the man's pupils, Tanjiro recalled Tamayo's words. This demon was one of the 12 Kazuki, Musen Kibutsuji subordinates. The 12 Kazuki were divided into upper and lower ranks, 6 in each, totaling 12. The upper ranks were stronger than the lower ranks. This must be a real 12 Kazuki, Tanjiro thought. Although this was lower rank 6, supposedly the weakest, no one knew the extent of their strength. Zenitsu didn't know about the 12 Kazuki, but he could sense from the demon's heartbeat that this one was different from the others. Ryaji saw the words on lower rank 6 eyes and knew this was likely one of the 12 Kazuki. The intel said the white-haired one was the toughest. "It seems true. Trying to intimidate me before we even meet. That's quite arrogant," lower rank 6 said coldly to Ryaji. Zenitsu shouted, "Ryaji, see. I told you not to always fight demons. Now you've become a wanted criminal among demons." 133 Chapter 133. Ryaji ignored Zenitsu and said to Tanjiro, "Tanjiro, take Zenitsu, Nezuko, and the children into the villa. Leave this to me." Tanjiro considered it and agreed. Knowing the siblings' brother might still be alive in the villa, he knew they needed to split up. The situation in the villa was unclear, so taking Zenitsu, Nezuko, and the children was the safest option. Even if something happened in the villa, Zenitsu and Nezuko could help. Tanjiro trusted Ryaji to handle things alone. Ryaji wanted Tanjiro to take everyone into the villa because it was safer than staying outside. Inosuke was also in the villa, allowing Tanjiro and Zenitsu to bond with him, ensuring key plot points wouldn't change. Although Ryaji's presence caused some plot fluctuations, the overall story hadn't changed drastically. Ryaji didn't intend to deviate from the original plot unless the system mission forced him to. After all, Tanjiro, Zenitsu, Inosuke, and Nezuko were the main characters of this world, and Ryaji was just a dimensional traveler who would leave after completing his system missions. All he could leave behind were memories for the main characters. "I don't want to go inside. I want to stay with Ryaji." Zenitsu suddenly decided to stay with Ryaji, believing it was safer. Ryaji understood. This is a powerful demon. If you don't want to get hurt, go hide in the villa with Tanjiro. With Ryaji's words, Zenitsu grabbed Nezuko and ran towards the villa. "Nezuko, don't be afraid. I'll protect you." Zenitsu, holding Nezuko, spoke with manly confidence. Nezuko, however, felt no fear. "Ryaji, be careful." Tanjiro gave a final warning before carrying the siblings towards the villa. Lower rank 6, seeing them run, didn't chase. He knew other demons were in the villa. Tanjiro would still be in danger. He just needed to defeat Ryaji, then go to the villa and take Tanjiro's head to complete his mission. "You're quite arrogant, choosing to fight me alone. But I'll disappoint you. You'll die a horrible death," lower rank 6 said mockingly. At that moment, Ryaji heard a system broadcast in his mind. New mission issued. Mission: defeat lower rank 6 of the 12 Kazuki without activating demon transformation. Mission reward: upgrade Demon God Devourer to C rank. Note: only C rank and above Demon God Devourers can devour lower ranks of the 12 Kazuki. The host is currently D rank and cannot devour them. Mission penalty: none. 134, Chapter 134. Seeing the mission with no penalty, Ryaji knew he could ignore it, but that meant missing the reward. If he used demon transformation, even if he completely suppressed lower rank 6, he couldn't devour it with the Demon God Devourer and obtain its special abilities. The same would happen with other lower ranks he encountered in the future. He wouldn't be able to devour them and gain new abilities. His current abilities were stealth and telekinesis. Your trash talk is pretty good, but unfortunately, you'll become my next victim, Ryaji responded to lower rank 6 taunts. He knew the 12 Kazuki wouldn't have come unless ordered by Muzan Kibutsuji. Die, white-haired brat. Lower rank 6 attacked angrily. Lower rank 6 was incredibly fast, appearing before Ryaji in an instant, unleashing a powerful punch aimed at his head. Ryaji, without activating Demon God transformation, wouldn't engage in a head-on collision. Water breathing, 12th form, Dark Blade Massacre. Ryaji used the 12th form, Dark Blade Massacre, for defense and counterattack. Countless sharp sword energies, like a tornado, raged around him, creating splashes of water. Lower rank 6 powerful punch hit the sharp water wall, encountering significant resistance. Lower rank 6 arm was slashed by the sword energy, bleeding profusely. Ryaji seized the opportunity, changing his offensive strategy and using water breathing, first form, modified surface/combo. He instantly drew his Nichiren sword, severing lower rank 6 arm with the first strike. The following rapid strikes targeted its neck and torso. Lower rank 6 hadn't expected such a fierce attack and was shocked. As Ryaji's blade grazed lower rank 6's neck, it prioritized saving its head, twisting its neck to sever its own head. The head separated from the body. 2 makeshift legs sprouted from the neck wound, quickly distancing itself from Ryaji. Ryaji, still executing his technique, couldn't pursue the head. Its body became Ryaji's target. His Nichiren sword moved like lightning, delivering over 20 strikes. Lower rank 6 clothes were torn to shreds by the rapid strikes. Its naked torso showed over 20 deep wounds, bleeding profusely, quickly turning red. Water breathing, 7th form, Drop Ripple Thrust. As Ryaji sheathed his sword, he adjusted his breathing, gathering power and thrusting towards lower rank 6's heart. 135, Chapter 135. The next moment, Ryaji's Nichiren sword pierced lower rank 6's heart. Ryaji released his grip on the sword. Lower rank 6's torso, having been abandoned by its head, was no longer under its control. The torso immediately knelt before Ryaji, lifeless. As the Nichiren sword pierced the torso, blood flowed down the blade, activating its blood-sucking ability. It greedily absorbed lower rank 6's blood. Ryaji did this to allow the Nichiren sword to absorb the demon blood. It had been a while since the sword had absorbed any. To effectively suppress the 12 Kazuki, even Muzan Kibutsuji, the sword needed to be upgraded. Ryaji ignored the torso and drew his other weapon, the 2-colored Nichiren sword. Lower rank 6, nearly defeated, was enraged. Being forced to abandon its body was a disgrace to a lower rank of the 12 Kazuki. If it hadn't reacted quickly and sacrificed its body to save its head, Ryaji's previous strike to the neck would have killed it. You, damn it. Lower rank 6, regenerating its body, glared at Ryaji. Ryaji looked coldly at lower rank 6 and taunted, almost killed you at the start. With your skills, you'll soon be my next victim. Lower rank 6, arrogant and conceited, couldn't stand the mockery. It was a member of the 12 Kazuki, a powerful and noble demon. Being killed by Ryaji, who wasn't even a Hashira, would be a laughingstock among the other 12 Kazuki. Ryaji's strength, while not at the Hashira level, was definitely at the top-tier level, very close to Hashira. He had mastered the 10th form of water breathing to the highest level, gaining a 20% damage increase. Because of this, he could still harm lower rank 6. Lower rank 6, having fully regenerated, used its blood demon art, its ultimate technique. To force me to use blood prison, you can die proudly. Lower rank 6 said ferociously to Ryaji. It spat a dark red blood orb into the air. The orb shot out, and Ryaji didn't rush to attack it. He didn't know what it was and didn't want to risk it, so he chose to retreat. The orb exploded in midair, spreading a thick blood mist within a kilometer radius. Ryaji smelled the strong stench of blood and frowned. He knew things wouldn't be so simple, something else would happen. The blood mist's range was too large. Even if he wanted to leave, it would take time, and lower rank 6 would surely restrain him, preventing his retreat. 136, Chapter 136. Seeing the thick blood mist, Ryaji bent his knees, adjusted his waist, and, using his breath and core muscles, activated the 10th form of water breathing. Water breathing, 6th form, whirlpool. Ryaji spun, his two-colored Nichiren sword tracing a graceful arc. Once the arc was complete, a massive water vortex formed around him. The strong airflow at the vortex's edge lifted some of the blood mist into the air. However, the blood mist was too dense. The vortex's airflow didn't improve the situation. It wasn't that his attack wasn't strong enough, the blood mist's density was too high. Useless. The more you struggle, the faster the tiny poison particles in the blood mist will fuse with your cells. First, you'll feel complete paralysis. Then, your vision will be paralyzed. Finally, you'll become a bug for me to slaughter at will. Lower rank 6 laughed at Ryaji's foolishness. If his blood demon art were easily broken, he wouldn't be a lower rank of the 12 Kazuki. As lower rank 6 finished speaking, Ryaji felt his body numb, and his vision plunged into darkness, as if he had gone blind. Ryaji wasn't panicked. Giving in to fear would make him no better than a coward. Besides, with the system, even permanent blindness should be reversible. He stopped attacking and used his aura to sense his surroundings, but the strong smell of blood in the mist prevented him from sensing lower rank 6's presence. I forgot to tell you, if you stay in my blood prison too long, the poison will become stronger. Besides blindness, your other senses will be lost, and the poison will completely erode your body. Ha ha ha! Lower rank 6, confident of victory, laughed. Ryaji ignored him and thought about breaking the deadlock. The simplest way was to activate Demon God transformation, but that would forfeit the mission reward, which he didn't want to miss. During the stalemate, Ryaji had a sudden inspiration and switched to the breath of the forest. Using the breath of the forest, he felt the numbness gradually disappear, but his vision remained dark. After waiting a while, lower rank 6, impatient to wait for Ryaji to die from the poison, prepared to deliver the final blow to the seemingly senseless Ryaji. Lower rank 6 lunged at Ryaji, aiming a punch at his head. Lower rank 6 clearly intended to destroy Ryaji's head, leaving him no chance to breathe. Just as lower rank 6 thought the blow was certain to kill, Ryaji skillfully dodged it. Lower rank 6 was shocked. Its fist narrowly missed Ryaji's head, only the strong wind ruffling his white hair. 137, Chapter 137. Lower rank 6 attack missed because it mistakenly believed Ryaji was completely paralyzed by the poison, unable to react even if he still had some senses. Ryaji was able to dodge because the breath of the forest mitigated the poison's effects. Although his vision hadn't returned, he sensed lower rank 6 attack through the air's fluctuations. Ryaji didn't counterattack because he was still affected by the blood prison. Switching to water breathing and attacking would cause him to inhale more poison, worsening the effects. Until he was sure he could kill lower rank 6, he could only evade and then find a way to break the deadlock. Most importantly, Ryaji guessed lower rank 6 was shocked by his dodge, so he had to use this to psychologically pressure it, making it fear him. Unless lower rank 6 had other tricks, the blood prison alone couldn't defeat Ryaji. Ryaji tentatively swung his sword, and lower rank 6 retreated several meters, creating distance. Impossible. How did you dodge my attack? In my blood prison, even if you could see, you should be paralyzed. How can you still move? Lower rank 6 roared in disbelief. Ryaji, knowing he had intimidated lower rank 6, continued to pressure it. Your pathetic poison works on kittens, but it's useless against me. Lower rank 6 didn't believe it but didn't dare to attack rashly. During this pause, Ryaji accelerated the rhythm of the breath of the forest. Green airflow began to emanate from him. The green airflow appeared, and the blood mist around Ryaji avoided it as if it were a natural enemy. Seeing Ryaji's change, lower rank 6 became fearful. Was he truly unaffected by the poison? As the green airflow dispersed the blood mist, Ryaji's dark vision changed. It wasn't a complete recovery but a peculiar state. Within a 100-meter radius, his vision showed only rough outlines in his mind. It was like a high-performance graphics card in low-power mode, simplifying complex images into simple lines. But it was better than no visual feedback. With this rudimentary visual feedback, Ryaji actively attacked lower rank 6. Using the breath of the forest, he couldn't use powerful techniques, only ordinary attacks. Even these ordinary attacks were incredibly sharp. Seeing Ryaji completely unaffected, lower rank 6, panicked, only dodged, forgetting to counterattack. 138, Chapter 138. How is it possible? This is illogical. Lower rank 6 thought resentfully. Seeing his signature move was useless against Ryaji, lower rank 6 was psychologically defeated. If lower rank 6 had been bolder, the situation would have been reversed. However, lower rank 6 didn't realize that Ryaji, to counter its blood prison, was only operating at 60% of his strength while using the breath of the forest. Without the enhancement of water breathing's 10th form, Ryaji's combat power was naturally affected. Lower rank 6, having nearly been killed by Ryaji at the start, and seeing its strongest move, blood prison, ignored, fell into self-doubt. It no longer believed it could defeat Ryaji, and the arrogant words it had spoken earlier were now slapping it in the face. Ryaji sensed lower rank 6 fear and saw his chance to finish it off. He continued to taunt it. "Weren't you going to kill me? Why are you running now? As a member of the 12 Kazuki, you can't even beat me. You're the worst of the worst. I wonder how trash like you got noticed by Muzan Kibutsuji." Ryaji's sharp words enraged lower rank 6. "Damn you, die." Lower rank 6 swore, ignoring Ryaji's approaching Nichiren sword, intending to die together. Seeing lower rank 6's desperate attack, Ryaji instantly switched to water breathing and activated its 7th form. Water breathing, 7th form, drop ripple thrust. Ryaji's two-colored Nichiren sword pierced towards lower rank 6's incoming fist. In Ryaji's unique vision, he was stabbing a straight line, and his Nichiren sword merged with it. In reality, the entire blade of the two-colored Nichiren sword pierced through lower rank 6's arm bone, only the hilt remaining outside. As lower rank 6's fist hit the Nichiren sword's tip, water splashed. Lower rank 6 howled in pain, and its other fist swung towards Ryaji's head. Ryaji knew he didn't have time to pull out his sword to counterattack. In this critical moment, he decided to use his sword scabbard as a weapon. It was a desperate measure. He wouldn't activate Demon God transformation because he wanted the mission reward. Without Demon God transformation, he wouldn't use his body to fight lower rank 6. The scabbard was his only option. Water breathing, 12th form, Dark Blade Massacre. Ryaji used the scabbard to activate the 12th form, Dark Blade Massacre. Since the scabbard wasn't as strong as the Nichiren sword, he wouldn't use it to cut lower rank 6. Instead, he used it as a medium to unleash the sword energy of the 12th form, Dark Blade Massacre. 139, Chapter 139. Just as Ryaji unleashed Dark Blade Massacre, his sword scabbard exploded into fragments. The scabbard wasn't strong enough and broke after Ryaji forced the technique. Numerous sword energies erupted around Ryaji. Although their sharpness and density decreased, they still managed to block lower rank 6's punch. The force of the punch sent Ryaji reeling back several meters, landing him in front of lower rank 6's discarded torso. Ryaji's breathing became ragged, and he spat out blood, collapsing onto one knee. Seeing Ryaji injured, lower rank 6 was overjoyed and immediately charged, intending to finish him off. Ryaji knew he'd been exposed and that lower rank 6 would attack. He ignored his surroundings and focused on regulating his breathing. As lower rank 6 charged, Ryaji drew the Nichiren sword embedded in the torso's heart. Water breathing, 3rd form, Flowing Dance. Using flowing current's precise footwork, Ryaji dodged lower rank 6's attack and circled behind it. Lower rank 6, caught off guard, punched into the thick blood mist, the force of the blow dispersing the mist. Water breathing, 11th form, Water Shadow Slash. Ryaji swiftly moved his sword, aiming a water shadow slash at lower rank 6's neck. No. Lower rank 6 was startled and, like before, twisted its neck, severing its head to escape. Ryaji had anticipated this and the water shadow slash was a feint. His true killing blow followed. Water breathing, 7th form, Drop Ripple Thrust. Following the water shadow slash, Ryaji's hand, holding the Nichiren sword, precisely pierced lower rank 6's severed head. Lower rank 6's eyes were filled with resentment, but it was too late. Its head and body turned to ashes and dissipated. The blood mist also disappeared with lower rank 6 death. Ryaji staggered, nearly fainting, but quickly used the breath of the forest to recover. Mission complete. Reward issued: Demon God Devourer upgraded to C rank. C rank Demon God Devourer grants the host a 10% increase in character attributes. Nikaran Sword upgrade: Common upper grade, Common top grade. Attribute effect increased by 10%. Hearing the ultradimensional traveler system's broadcast, Ryaji was overjoyed. If not for the mission reward, he wouldn't have been so reckless, opting to use Demon God transformation instead. This battle had shown him the usefulness of the breath of the forest. Perhaps the system had anticipated his encounter with a poison-using demon, releasing the breath of the forest mission beforehand. 140, Chapter 140. If not for the breath of the forest, Ryaji would have abandoned the mission reward and activated Demon God transformation to resolve the crisis. After killing lower rank 6, Ryaji didn't immediately go to the villa to find Tanjiro and the others. There were 2 reasons. First, he hadn't fully recovered from the poison. In the final moments, he changed his breathing and used water breathing 3 times, which was key to turning the tide. However, this caused him to inhale more poison. Delaying would only worsen his condition. Second, the encounter with Inashuk was a crucial plot point for Tanjiro and Zenitsu, and Ryaji didn't want to interfere. It was also time for Tanjiro to stand on his own. Ryaji went to a tree, leaned against the trunk, and used the breath of the forest to eliminate the poison in his body. Inside the villa. After Tanjiro and Zenitsu entered the villa, the entire building shook. Zenitsu hugged Nezuko in fright. "Tanjiro, protect me," Zenitsu said fearfully. Tanjiro was used to this and ignored him. The siblings fearfully clung to Tanjiro's clothes, curiously looking at Zenitsu, who seemed even more afraid than them, as if looking at a fool. Zenitsu noticed their gazes and complained, "Hey, what are you looking at? I'm human too. It's normal to be scared." The boy ignored Zenitsu and looked away. "Little brother, let's find your brother." Tanjiro brought the conversation back to the main topic. As Tanjiro finished speaking, a drum sound echoed through the villa. Their space rotated 90 degrees. Where Tanjiro had been standing, became the side. The wall to their side became the floor. Tanjiro, along with the little girl, fell into a room with an open door. Unable to adjust their posture, they fell into the room. Zenitsu was further from the door, so he, Nezuko, and the boy didn't fall into the room but onto the wall. Tanjiro. Mina. Zenitsu and the boy watched as Tanjiro and the girl fell into the room. As Zenitsu lunged to join them, another drum sound echoed. Zenitsu, Nezuko, and the boy's space changed, not by rotation, but by a complete spatial shift. They were in a different room. The doorway Zenitsu had been about to jump through became a wall. He fell face first onto it. 141, Chapter 141. Ouch. It hurts. Zenitsu Agatsuma cried out, rubbing his sore face and chin before standing up. It was fortunate that he hadn't jumped into the room, otherwise, he would have been separated from Nezuko and the boy. Zenitsu's actions were somewhat like betraying his teammates. However, that wasn't his intention. Already scared, he didn't want to be separated from Tanjiro, so his actions were a purely instinctive reaction to seek protection. Completely separated from Tanjiro, Zenitsu panicked. He cried, "What do I do? I'm separated from Tanjiro. I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead. Ryaji isn't here either." The boy looked at the wailing Zenitsu, speechless. Then, he looked at Nezuko, who remained motionless, and thought she was more reliable. He approached her. Nezuko stood still, unreactive. Zenitsu, still wailing, noticed Nezuko and approached her, seeking help. "Nezuko, you'll protect me, right? As a demon, you must be stronger than me. If you don't want to lose me, you must protect me." The boy couldn't stand it anymore. Is this even a man? Asking a girl for protection. "Older brother. Shouldn't we look for my sister?" The boy tentatively asked Zenitsu. Zenitsu immediately refused. No, it's too dangerous here. I think we should leave. It's dangerous outside too. That white-haired older brother is still fighting the bad guy. The boy didn't want to leave the villa. As he said, Ryaji was still fighting lower rank 6. No one knew the exact situation. Also, you keep saying you're going to die. Aren't you ashamed? Hiding behind a girl all the time. Don't you feel embarrassed? What's the sword at your waist for? To scare children. The boy then launched a three-pronged attack on Zenitsu. Zenitsu, unable to retort to the boy's piercing words, collapsed and foamed at the mouth. Listen to me. Let's go outside and get Ryaji. It'll be safer. Zenitsu, recovering, grabbed Nezuko and the boy and tried to leave. After trying to open several doors, he despaired. The room order was completely scrambled. He couldn't find the exit but stubbornly tried each door. One of the doors he opened revealed a figure in a dark room. A demon. Zenitsu fainted in terror. The boy, seeing Zenitsu faint, looked into the room. He saw a muscular man with a boar mask, wielding twin blades. 142 Chapter 142. Seeing Inashuk, the boy was overjoyed. He also looked down on Zenitsu even more, fainting from fright. Older brother. The boy called out to Inashuk. Inashuk turned, took a deep breath, and suddenly lunged towards the boy. His target was Nezuko, standing beside the boy. Inashuk didn't recognize Nezuko, and since she was a demon, she naturally became his target. The boy didn't know Inashuk's intentions, but when Inashuk appeared before him, he sensed Inashuk's killing intent and the blade aimed at Nezuko. The boy couldn't stop him. Just as Inashuk's blade was about to touch Nezuko, she suddenly shrunk to the size of a child. The boy was stunned. That was impossible for a normal human. Inashuk's strike missed. He swung his other blade. Older brother. This older sister isn't a bad person. Please don't hurt her. The boy shouted. Inashuk ignored him, continuing his attack. Suddenly, a flash of yellow lightning. The blade about to hit Nezuko's neck was knocked away, embedding itself in the wooden floor. Beside the embedded blade, Zenitsu stood in a fighting stance, hands on his sword hilt. Nezuko, seizing the opportunity, pulled the boy out of Inashuk's range. Seeing his weapon knocked away, Inashuk turned to Zenitsu. You want to fight? Inashuk said, taking a deep breath. Zenitsu, still asleep, ignored him, turning towards Inashuk and assuming a fighting stance. He took a deep breath, drawing his Nichiren sword with his left thumb. Inashuk sensed Zenitsu's change and prepared to fight. Thunder breathing, first form, thunderclap and flash. Beast breathing, boar rush. They attacked simultaneously. Their speed was too fast to see clearly, only a flash of yellow light and the clash of blades were visible. Then, Zenitsu and Inashuk switched places. Zenitsu remained motionless, Inashuk stood still. Soon, Inashuk's legs buckled, and he knelt, grabbing his embedded blade to maintain his balance. During their clash, Inashuk's blade had broken, a piece embedding itself in his stomach due to the recoil. This wound disrupted his breathing, causing temporary weakness. At that moment, Nezuko ran to Inashuk and kicked him in the head. 143 Chapter 143. Inashuk was unable to dodge Nezuko's attack and was kicked into another room. However, Nezuko didn't use her full strength. Inashuk's head, after being kicked, didn't do a 360-degree rotation, he was simply knocked away. Inashuk crashed into another room, smashing a table before stopping. Although Nezuko's kick wasn't fatal, it certainly hurt. Inashuk remained on the ground for a while before getting up. As he stood, he shook his head, trying to clear the dizziness. Another drum sound echoed, and Inashuk's room changed, separating him from Nezuko, Zenitsu, and the others. As if sensing Inashuk's killing intent had vanished, Zenitsu, who had been maintaining a regal posture, suddenly collapsed. The boy, who had previously looked down on Zenitsu, changed his opinion after witnessing the fight. The cowardly man was actually incredibly strong, a wolf in sheep's clothing. After Zenitsu fainted, Nezuko and the boy gathered around him. The boy tried to wake him. Older brother. Older brother. He turned Zenitsu over, revealing a large bubble on his nose as he snored. The boy found Zenitsu's image completely ruined, a far cry from the cool swordsman he had been moments before. The boy almost wanted to slap Zenitsu awake but resisted the urge. Nezuko poked the bubble on Zenitsu's nose. He instantly woke up. He jumped up and hugged Nezuko, crying, "Nezuko, there's a demon. I saw a demon with a boar's head." The boy, seeing Zenitsu acting like a 3-year-old, hid his face in embarrassment. "Older brother, that wasn't a demon. It was the other older brother who saved me and my sister earlier," the boy explained. "But why did he have a boar's head?" Zenitsu was still unconvinced. "Maybe it was a mask," the boy replied. "Where is he? Did he leave? Zenitsu looked around for Inashuk. Inashuk was gone, so Zenitsu didn't see him. The boy looked at Zenitsu questioningly, unsure why he was asking. Zenitsu should know what happened. That boar-headed older brother attacked Nezuko, and Nezuko beat him away. The boy replied. 144, Chapter 144. Hearing this, Zenitsu guessed Inashuk was likely a demon slayer and attacked Nezuko after realizing she was a demon. Seeing Nezuko was unharmed, Zenitsu hugged her, relieved. He cried, "Nezuko, it's good you're okay. If anything happened to you, I wouldn't know how to face your brother, Tanjiro." As Zenitsu cried, Nezuko patted his back, comforting him. "Waya!" Zenitsu cried even harder. Inashuk, injured, was transported to the room where Tanjiro and the girl were, along with a drum demon. Tanjiro quickly noticed Inashuk. Excited, he shouted, "Hey, are you a demon slayer too?" Inashuk ignored him, focusing on the drum demon. "Finally, I've found you again. This time, I'll cut you to pieces," Inashuk said, pulling out the blade from his stomach and throwing it on the ground. Then, he charged at the drum demon. Zenitsu and Nezuko's attacks hadn't significantly affected him. Beast breathing, boar rush. Damn it, damn it. The drum demon muttered angrily, striking one of its drums. The room flipped, and gravity changed. Tanjiro and the girl crashed into the wall. Tanjiro shouted, "Mina, grab onto the furniture." Inashuk, in midair, landed on Tanjiro's shoulder, using it as a springboard to charge at the drum demon. "This demon has abilities. Don't attack recklessly," Tanjiro warned Inashuk. As Inashuk approached, the drum demon struck another drum. The room rotated again, gravity shifting. Inashuk fell from the air, landing on the girl, who had also fallen due to the room's rotation. Inashuk, seemingly unaware he was stepping on her, laughed, "Hee ha, interesting. Don't step on people." Seeing Inashuk ignoring the girl, Tanjiro pulled Inashuk's foot off her, throwing him away. Inashuk, landing on the ground, coldly questioned Tanjiro, "What do you mean?" Tanjiro hugged the girl and angrily said, "Don't you have eyes? You stepped on a child." 145, Chapter 145. Hearing this, Inashuk laughed. Not bad, not bad. It's the first time a human has thrown me." Then, he attacked Tanjiro, unleashing a cross-shaped slash with his twin blades. Tanjiro, holding the girl, leaped back to avoid the attack. He was puzzled. Was Inashuk not a demon slayer? Even if not, they were both human. Why fight each other? "My blades are painful. They're not for cutting fruit like a lady's knife. The feeling of tearing an opponent apart is amazing. I love it," Inashuk muttered proudly. "Stop it. The demon is here." Tanjiro didn't want to fight a human and tried to reason with Inashuk. "I don't care." Inashuk didn't care. Anyone he considered an enemy had to fight. He couldn't contain himself any longer. "Bug, disappear. Die." While Tanjiro and Inashuk argued, the drum demon struck another drum. The room didn't flip, but 3 sharp air blades descended on Tanjiro and Inashuk. Inashuk abandoned his attack and dodged. Tanjiro leaped back to create distance. The 3 air blades struck the tatami mats, creating deep gashes. The gashes looked like claw marks from a large beast. More drum sounds. 3 more air blades attacked Inashuk. He dodged again, but the air blades shattered the door behind him. A series of drum sounds followed, and the room flipped. Tanjiro observed the drum demon's drumming and quickly noticed a pattern. Following the pattern, he rolled with the girl. Inashuk, single-minded, didn't pay attention to the details and was flung out of the room through the broken door. As Tanjiro discovered the pattern, a distant drum sound echoed, and the room changed, taking him away from the drum demon. The room changed again, but the demon didn't hit its drums. What's going on? Tanjiro, who had just figured out the pattern, was puzzled. There are several demons nearby. Do other demons have those drums? Tanjiro put the girl down and comforted her. "You're okay. Stay behind me later." The girl nodded. Tanjiro continued searching for her brother using his sense of smell. He wasn't too worried about Zenitsu and Nezuko. He trusted Zenitsu to be reliable in crucial moments. Ryaji, after defeating lower rank 6, would likely enter the villa and encounter them. 146, Chapter 146. Tanjiro was wrong. Ryaji had no intention of entering the villa. He was under a tree, using the breath of the forest to detoxify. After some time, his vision gradually returned to normal, though it was still a little blurry. Tanjiro, with the girl, followed the faint scent and stopped outside a room with a strong smell of blood. The room was lit. Tanjiro gestured for the girl to be quiet and approached the door. He knew the room might contain a dead body. Suddenly, he threw open the door and saw a frightened boy looking at him. The boy held a drum from the drum demon, making Tanjiro even more puzzled. Why did the boy have the drum? It was strange. Seeing the survivor, Tanjiro was relieved. You're Mina's brother, right? Tanjiro asked. The boy looked surprised. You know Mina? Hearing her brother's voice, Mina peeked from behind Tanjiro, ran to her brother, and hugged him. Brother. Tanjiro entered the room and smiled at the embracing siblings. After expressing their emotions, Mina's brother looked at Tanjiro. Who are you? My name is Tanjiro Kamado. I'm a demon slayer, hunting demons that eat people. Tanjiro introduced himself. Can you tell me what happened? Why do you have something from the demon? Tanjiro asked. Tanjiro noticed a wound on Mina's brother's leg and treated it. Mina's brother explained while Tanjiro treated his wound. After the drum demon and another fat demon found him, they argued over his rare blood type, and fought. Mina's brother was injured then, and he picked up the drum dropped by the fat demon. He watched them fight and discovered the drum's ability to control space. He used it to change locations. The fat demon and Mina's brother were sent to different rooms, and he escaped. Knowing the drum's power, he used it to change the villa's layout. Tanjiro had another question. What was this rare blood? Why did the two demons fight over it? 147, Chapter 147. What's this rare blood? Tanjiro pressed Mina's brother. Mina's brother shook his head. I don't know. The demons said I had rare blood. Suddenly, a crow appeared, shouting, Rare blood is blood from people with rare blood types. The crow's shout startled the siblings. Tanjiro was surprised the crow had found them. What effect does rare blood have on demons? Tanjiro asked the crow. Rare blood quickly increases a demon's strength. The purer the rare blood, the more nutritious it is. Eating someone with rare blood is like eating 50, even 100, ordinary people. Rare blood is a demon's feast, their favorite. Tanjiro understood. No wonder the two demons fought. One person provided the nutrition of 50 or 100, enough to drive any demon mad. He wondered if Nezuko could resist drooling at the sight of Mina's brother. After the crow finished, Tanjiro smelled a demon approaching, and faint footsteps were heard outside. Rare blood. Rare blood. If I eat that rare-blooded brat, I'll return to the 12 Kazuki and regain the master's favor. The drum demon, approaching the room, muttered. It suddenly rotated its eyes 180 degrees, revealing its pupils, which had been hidden. The pupils had the words lower 6 and a cross-shaped scar. I'm leaving. That guy's coming. Tanjiro told the siblings. The siblings looked terrified. Tanjiro reassured them. It's okay. Stay calm. I'll defeat him. As soon as I leave, immediately use the drum to move to another place, like before. I'll come back after I defeat the demon. Just hold on. Tanjiro gave them instructions. The siblings nodded. Tanjiro patted their heads and rushed out. Mina's brother struck the drum, and they were transported to another room. Tanjiro and the demon were in another, more open room. As Tanjiro regained his footing, lower rank 6, the drum demon struck its drum. The room flipped 180 degrees. The drum demon, unaffected, hung upside down like a bat. Tanjiro, due to gravity, was on the ceiling. The drum demon struck another drum. 3 sharp air blades flew past Tanjiro's head. 148, Chapter 148. Tanjiro crouched and ducked, avoiding the drum demon's attack. Seeing the drum demon's eyes, he gasped. Lower rank 6. Was this lower rank 6? What about the one Ryaji was fighting? Were there 2 lower rank 6s? Could he win if this one was also a lower rank 6 of the 12 Kazuki? As Tanjiro pondered, the drum demon began hitting its drums incessantly. Right shoulder drum rotates right, left shoulder drum rotates left, right leg drum rotates forward, left leg drum rotates back, stomach drum is a claw attack. Tanjiro observed the drumming, analyzing the pattern and reacting accordingly. As the drumming sped up, Tanjiro felt he couldn't keep up. The injuries from his fight with the telekinesis demon in Asakusa, Tokyo, were affecting his reactions. He hadn't suffered serious external injuries, but his muscles were strained, and his bones were slightly fractured from resisting the powerful telekinesis. Although Tamayo had treated him, the bones weren't fully healed and were showing signs of cracking under the strain. No chance to attack. This won't work. Tanjiro tumbled around the room like clothes in a washing machine, unable to attack. Panicked, he grabbed a chandelier. What would Ryoji do? Tanjiro wondered. Moments later, 3 air blades swept across the ceiling towards him. Tanjiro let go of the chandelier and crashed onto the tatami mats. Damn it. No time to think. If only Ryoji were here. Tanjiro gritted his teeth. Anxious, Tanjiro stood and asked the drum demon, "Hey, what's your name?" He hoped to buy time to recover, a silly idea, but it might work. As Tanjiro hoped, the drum demon stopped drumming. "Kigai." The drum demon answered. Tanjiro didn't know what to say next. He hadn't planned on chatting. He blurted out, "Kigai, I won't let you get the rare blood. Give up. Otherwise, I'll defeat you." Kigai gritted his teeth, his expression turning ferocious. Bad memories resurfaced. "I'll kill you. I need the rare blood to become a 12 Kizuki again." Kigai raged. 149, Chapter 149. Hearing Kigai, Tanjiro understood the numbers and cross-shaped scar on his eyes. Kigai had been a member of the 12 Kizuki but was stripped of his rank. Tanjiro initially thought the scar was from a demon slayer, but Kigai's words indicated otherwise. Demons' healing abilities would prevent scarring. After Kigai's outburst, the drumming intensified. The room's rotation and air blade attacks increased in frequency and speed. The room's furniture was destroyed. Bookshelves were shattered, books torn into pages. Pages fluttered like snowflakes. Tanjiro tumbled amidst them. Pages landed on his knees and toes. The sensation on his toes gave him an epiphany. He adjusted his breathing and tried using the pages as footholds. Breathe shallow and fast. Imagine these pages as water, like Ryoji on the waterfall. I can do it. The essence of water breathing is to become like water, adapting to everything. Tanjiro recalled Ryoji's skill of standing on water at the Natagyamo mountain waterfall. He had learned from Ryoji and Seikanji Urokadake, understanding the rhythm and method of breathing. He had successfully stood on water, though not as freely as Ryoji. If he focused, he could do it. Tanjiro successfully used the pages to adjust his position in mid-air. Each step created a small splash. He was overjoyed. Water breathing, 9th form, splashing water flow, turbulent. Using the pages, Tanjiro used the 9th form of water breathing. Water breathing, 9th form, splashing water flow, turbulent. This technique, like flowing current, is a movement technique. Unlike flowing current, splashing water flow, turbulent is more agile, suitable for areas with few footholds. Tanjiro didn't use flowing current because it wasn't suitable for unstable footholds. The pages couldn't withstand the force. The 9th form, splashing water flow, turbulent, is gentler and requires less force, not needing the entire foot. Using the pages, Tanjiro approached Kigai, easily dodging his attacks. Seeing his attacks easily dodged, and Tanjiro seemingly unaffected by the spatial manipulation, Kigai panicked. Imagine yourself on water. Finish this. Tanjiro's fighting spirit ignited. Water breathing, 1st form, water surface slash. 150, Chapter 150. As Tanjiro approached Kigai, the void threads appeared before him. Using the 1st form, water surface slash, he severed Kigai's head. After landing, Tanjiro breathed a sigh of relief. The sudden deep breath caused a sharp pain in his chest. Ouch, ouch, ouch. His Nichiren sword fell to the tatami mats. He clutched his chest, kneeling in pain. Brat. Kigai's severed head spoke. Tanjiro turned cautiously. Kigai asked, "Answer me one question. Was my drumming good?" Tanjiro paused. "Good. But your crimes are unforgivable." "Is that so?" Kigai's questioning tone held a hint of resignation. Kigai's head and body began to dissipate. Tanjiro remembered Tamayo's request. He took out the blood collection tool given by Yushiro, inserted it into Kigai's dissipating body, and the tool automatically drew blood. Tanjiro marveled at the tool's automation. He removed the tool and examined it. Meow. A cat appeared, with a charm on its collar. Tanjiro recognized Yushiro's charm. Are you here to take the blood back to Lady Tamayo? The cat nodded. Tanjiro placed the blood in the cat's small backpack. Thank you. Be careful on your journey. He patted the cat's head. The cat left, turning into red smoke a meter away. Tanjiro was shocked. Is that Yushiro's blood demon art? He remembered Mina and her brother, picked up his Nichiren sword, sheathed it, and left. Only Kyugai's body remained, beyond saving even by Muzan Kibutsuji. Following the scent, Tanjiro found Mina and her brother. When the magical drum turned to ash, Mina's brother knew Tanjiro had won. The drum disappeared with Kyugai's death. Tanjiro opened the door, smiling at the siblings hiding inside. Let's go.
Every novel listed in the description comes with permanent access to the audiobook on Telegram. You pay once, and if the novel is still ongoing, you'll receive all future updates automatically. No extra cost. Choose your novel from the description, then DM me on Telegram, WhatsApp, or Discord. After payment via PayPal, Ko-Fi, or Patreon, you'll get instant access. Simple, secure, lifetime listening. Guys, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification button. Your support means a lot.